happen, they should at least. Ugh, I'm never gonna get used to that. I hate robots.
What? Aw.
I have animatronic phobia, so. Ugh.
Oh, I said
anyways,
prematurely,
but anyways, it's just like the thing is, you should, if you're gonna have that, you're gonna have that stuff in your script, you should at least communicate with that actress or that actor to like at least see how they feel on it. I know on bigger sets you don't always have the time, but make a minute or two.
There's also the case of the excuse of, well, they read the script, so they know what's in it, so they should be prepared for this. When it's in theory, it's easy to read and be like, oh yeah, I can be comfortable with this. But in the moment when there's like a million people looking at you and you're filming and you're in that,
we could just put it like it's open for subjective. You know, like this a topic right here is really open to go either way, and it all depends on the situation.
And I'm really annoyed that like the main conversation was not recorded, because I think we made up some really good points.
Yeah, if anyone's watching the recording, we're talking about intimacy coordinators right now.
You know, I have to say, as a woman, I strongly believe that if you are passionate about your craft, you're not gonna, for the longevity of your craft, for the longevity of the relationships of everyone involved, but most importantly, your relationship with yourself, you are going to stand up for yourself and say what you're comfortable with or not. But I do agree with Priscilla, if you can't get an intimacy coordinator, I do see it as a really good point to have a female assistant or a female that another female actress can talk to, because let's just face it, even as professionals or even in a learning community, women are from, what is it? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. There's things that get lost in translation.
Uranus.
Whatever. Just things get lost in translation. And I have, I have good male friends and I have good female friends. And I've seen where, sometimes men are not comfortable, sometimes women are not comfortable. And I think having someone of your same sex to talk to, I think is a very valid point. And just to, even as a director or producer or whatever role you have, that you actually looked ahead and had someone kind of looking out for that specifically.
Yeah.
I think is a very valid point, because it sets a higher bar of respect and empathy for everyone. And I do believe that in those roles should be leadership roles, and you should look out for everyone. And I just think it's very valid, and it should happen. I didn't sell my soul for rock and roll, so I'm not going to sell it for film, and I don't think anyone else should either.
Yeah.
And
to your point of like speak up, and it's just definitely we should tell people that at the end of the day, don't sacrifice your morals, but we also can't be naive to the point that sometimes you're scared and sometimes you want to make it and you don't really have that confidence yet. And that confidence comes with age and with time and with experience. Not necessarily age, but time and experience.
And influence.
So having someone you can talk to, having someone you can trust, and training directors and training assistant directors and people and producers to be more aware of that and have that communication to bring out that confidence is also important, because we know a lot of stories in the film industry where people's voices have been shut down, like because they're new, because they're scared, because they think that if they don't comply with this, they're never going to work again or something like that. So it is a lot about training.
Look at you, Priscilla. Priscilla, you're a new liaison. You're nominated a new liaison, friend. That's it.
And also on top of that, like, even so, it's like with people, like if they're not like I don't know who said it. About
it's
like
me. It's probably me.
No. You don't,
Priscilla,
you don't,
sorry to cut you off.
I-
I'm gonna let you finish your point. But Priscilla, I just want to say I'm very proud of you, and I'm very impressed with the way you articulated this whole topic.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Put a lot of
Continue,
thought
Daniel.
into it.
like, even so, like, I've been on sets, like, I'll say one experience myself, a couple experiences, not
No,
anything
no
bad. Don't,
details.
no, I'm not gonna go into, I'm not going
Okay.
anything bad,
Okay,
don't worry.
yeah.
But it's like,
Go ahead.
like, I've been on some sets of one girl was very uncomfortable, but she wanted to do it. But I told the director, I'm like, why don't you just cut the team in half and have the team so it's not everyone watching? It's just
Oh yeah,
the
that is
main
one of the main things that every article, every video we said. You do not need all of those people for that scene. You only have principal, like the main camera and the main director there.
Essential crew is what they say.
Yeah, essential crew. You do
Yeah,
not
and-
need everyone there, and it also makes the actors more comfortable. Not to
yeah,
mention
exactly.
why, it's just
Like, not
best people.
the grips don't need to gawk, the gaffers don't need to gawk,
Yeah.
everyone doesn't need to gawk. It's just like, and even so, like, if you're there on scene, put your head to the side and don't watch. Like, be respectful.
Yeah.
And even for myself, like,
I don't know about all of that. I don't know about all of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, like
That's
the
wishful
director
thinking.
needs to watch and the camera needs to keep an eye. But like what he's saying, I think it's just like if you're just there for like sound, focus on the sound. If you're there for like electric, focus on the electric, focus on
That's
your
good.
job. Stop looking at
Well,
the
no, like
Yeah.
some people don't
If
even
Holly Berry
realize
is
they
doing
set
a
up.
sex
Ow!
scene,
You're yelling. Why are you yelling?
if Holly Berry,
Like Holly Berry.
what's that? If Holly Berry is doing a sex scene, and I'm like, don't look away, Brent. Just focus
No,
on the
but that's
music.
the thing. If
on the
you're there to
sound.
do a job, we have to have professionalism. Like
Yeah, you
I'm
have to have,
kidding. I'm
to do
kidding.
a
I'm kidding.
job.
like,
and that person is hot as hell. I'm like, okay, I'm here to do a job. I'm going to be professional right now.
like,
That kind of thing. It's
Like,
hard if the person's
uh,
really hot, but don't do it. That's the thing.
like,
Hold yourself.
I'll say this for you guys, like, it's not a bad thing, so don't worry. I'm not always bad stories. But I've been on 2 shoots. I've been basically for one short, I was in my boxers. And I felt so uncomfortable that like whole crew there is. I'm like, can we please get the crew, like half the crew away from here? I'm just not feeling comfortable. I
Yeah,
end up
and
I-
that's
People
really
staring
number
at you, judging the scene,
and-
and it's like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure.
and it's like I did not feel comfortable, and the director would not listen to me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing the scene if I'm not.
Exactly.
And
we
also,
have to one thing that I think that needs to happen in like film schools or any kind of training is preparing is like, I don't know, maybe not a psych class, but like a class that teaches you like talk about your boundaries, communicate, and both for directors and also for the actors. I feel like that's so important.
and even so, like, and then I had even a photo shoot, that basically I just won a photo shoot. It was basically one of those photo shoots that you put the blanket on you.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have that in New York or not.
I've heard of them, yeah.
And you're completely butt naked underneath.
Yeah.
I asked the person, I'm like, could you just send your assistants away? I'm not even comfortable with you, but I will try this. And she's like, yeah, for sure. I'll send them on their break.
Yeah.
And she did it, and I felt more comfortable.
And
That
another
those
thing with an intimacy
No.
coordinator is that they will give you like either like seamless underwear or like things to cover up so that you're not completely exposed and completely vulnerable as well.
Yeah, they have a lot of
That-
things they give to like make sure genitalia doesn't touch and that you aren't actually like grinding on the person's skin. You're just kind of like, this is like a plushie or like a prosthetic penis or something that covers where the vagina would be.
I saw a video even showing like, you know how you used to have fake makeout scenes or fake kisses. I saw an intimacy coordinator showing the guy, like there's a scene where he's supposed to rope her and stuff. And I saw her showing him basically how to do it without actually like groping her, like kind of make it look like he is, but without being like too aggressive or too handsy or stuff like that, which I also thought was really cool.
The angle
So,
of
yeah.
the camera allowed him to just move his hand in a certain way that made it look like he was doing what, you know, is implied, but not actually physically doing it.
Yeah.
I like the part of the article
And great.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I like the part saying where you stop the scene.
What?
Sorry, Angel. Go ahead.
Yes, I like this the part of the scene, the article where it said if the scene had got a little carried away and the actors just had kind of touched them like not where they had agreed upon, that they could stop and like just check in with the actors and make sure that everyone was okay. I thought that was a really good point.
Yeah, so since we're already here, honey, we might as well touch on this topic since we already went so far with it.
Oh yeah, I mean we're pretty much touching.
Yeah. So in the article,
all right. So how to film romance, and this is the thing was mainly about talking about like sexual scenes and like intimate scenes where they're either making out or they are supposed to be having sex or making love or doing foreplay or something like that. And so a lot of it was just talking about like if you can, like we already said, if you can get an intimacy coordinator, because their job is specifically to make the actors comfortable before they even start the scenes. They go through the script, they read through what scenes are going to be needed. They talk to the director about like, okay, how much nudity are you actually wanting? And you know, do you want full frontal nudity? Are you sure? Can we maybe do it from the side? Do you need that? Can't we do it for like this? And give suggestions for how they can get the same message across in case the actors aren't comfortable. And then they go and have conversations with the actors about those scenes. And they say, hey, what are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable with them touching you here, there? Where are you not comfortable showing?
They have like little tapes that they will put that are like showing the limit that the person is allowed to touch or should not pass.
That was for the camera. So they have like tape, like green tape or something where they put it on the person's skin so the camera doesn't go below or above a certain point. So that if they don't want to show like a certain area, they put some tape on it, and so then the camera can't go across there because it's not going to look good on screen.
Yeah, so they know.
So they had a lot of that, but they said if you can't get that person, because that person will make sure to have those conversations and make sure everybody's on the same page.
And have all the equipment as well.
Of
there's a lot of equipment that goes into it.
Yeah, trying to make sure everybody knows, and then you also like get the reduced crew, as little crew as possible. Only the essential crew for the actual scenes. The setup you can have everybody in there setting it up, but then everybody has to get out, and only the essential people for filming those scenes because they're so intimate and awkward.
You know, I think
make sure your actors are as comfortable as can be in those scenes, because otherwise they need to be comfortable anyway, because it's not going to come off really well if they're awkward and they're kind of stiff. It's going to look weird.
Honey, just a sec. What? Sorry, Angel, go ahead.
I think I mean, I definitely feel like if you could get the intimacy coordinator or someone looking out for these aspects in this day and age is vital. And I think it would set, you know, your production apart. But I feel like I've modeled previously and currently, and I feel like it could be a point as actors to kind of come prepared, possibly like with some pasties or some flesh tone underwear, just in case kind of thing. Like look at yourself as well.
But some directors, they don't have it themselves.
What I've been
but
thinking
some
about
directors
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
But you should always confirm with the director, like if you're gonna bring that stuff, confirm with the director, because sometimes they'll basically get you to take it off on the spot. Like I've seen on sets, it's like, oh, we can't have that on set. It's not going to look real, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm not comfortable. It's like, and the director didn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was thinking about this from the perspective of like a smaller production, and I don't know who would be in charge of that, if it would be the assistant director, if it would be one of the producers or something. All I know that if it were our shoot, I would at least, since we're pretty much doing like a million jobs in one, I would probably see if we had any intimacy scenes, which I tried to make it like what is going to go into like camera angles and how that can like and quote unquote foreplay and how you can like insinuate things without having to be explicit. And that is probably the route we would go. But I would
liaison.
but I would make sure to at least ask, like, have material ready, or ask, like, be that, like Brent said, the liaison or communicator in that sense. If we don't have anyone else, I would do my research, I would communicate, and I would try to be the back and forth with that, just because our crew is small, and like our production right now is smaller. But yes, when we do have the budget, and if we do have the opportunity, or know anyone that can, I would definitely like us to have an intimacy coordinator if needed, for those.
I always think too, liaison.
Right?
What?
I just want to share this last point because it just feels kind of strong for me, of
Go ahead.
past experiences in the performing arts industry. Is I feel like it would be a really good recommendation, if it wasn't in your budget, to suggest to the actors in advance to come up with the written writer point about the written writer about what they are comfortable with and what they're not.
Definitely.
So on page, and none of this like on set confusions. Somebody thinks they know what the other person's.
I would go a step further and make sure, like, to talk with them and go through that list and be like, are you sure? Because some, when you're going
even added to yours, Priscilla and Angel, right? Even adding to that, like, get to know the actor, like, let them have some sort of, like,
let them feel comfortable
meet and greet and get comfortable with each other, kind of, so that way when they do get ready to do, whatever scene, you can tell there's a level of respect and professionalism. You can tell if somebody's going to be professional or disrespectful just by, spending time with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why some of the tips were like, make sure they're comfortable, and the way to make them comfortable before they even get to that scene is to really go into the deep discussion about it, and to, like, say what you actually expect from them on the scene, like what you expect them to be doing or how you want them to act, and then, like, also what you're actually trying to capture. Like, are you going to try to capture nudity? Are you going to just make it a little bit, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, going down, but not all the way. Like, you need to let them know what you're actually trying to capture. If you're not going to have an intimacy coordinator, you need to talk to the actors and let them know.
Respect them.
Yeah.
And
like,
if you do have a
let
script,
them know what's coming. Let them know what's going to be in the final thing. Let them know what they're supposed to be doing in the scene, and let them know how you're going to handle it, just so they know that you're actually, like, taking care and trying to be
respectful.
Like, respectful about it.
Yeah. So I would go a step further to just say, if you are the writer, or if you are the director, if you're the working on the script and you have a sex scene, first of all, see if it is absolutely necessary, or if it's just a sex scene for sex scene's sake, because we all know a certain show or movie that has a sex scene that feels completely out of place, and just because they could, or just because they wanted that R rating they got the R rating and they wanted to push it.
Yeah, because they know sex sells, that's why.
Yeah, but see if it's actually adding to the story, or if it's actually relevant or not, or if it's to the characters, if it actually helps them, like, helps develop your characters, because not every sex scene is necessary. And if it is, try to think of creative ways, like the guy was talking about, and like Raphael was talking about, of foreplay, quote unquote, which is like insinuating that moment, that scene, those actions, without having to be too explicit about it, without having to be too, in your face and look like softcore porn or whatever,
You can let people's imagination fill in the holes and don't have
Yeah.
to reveal it.
Yeah, it's almost like a book, like, and I get Lakota's point, like, the viewer is more sophisticated these days. Like, same thing, violence for violence sake, sex for sex sake. Like, if it's like an artificial or just doesn't move the story or the characters along, like I just gotta go here and say that older romances and films back in the day, they insinuated a lot, but there was so much between the characters and so much romance and so much intimacy, like, you know, could set yourself apart, like, kind of giving people the feel of it without having to be so graphic.
So Laria said, would it be asked, I suppose, would it be helpful to have these things to an existing talent agreement / contract, adding the things, or would the writer be enough as long as there's proof of acknowledgement? I mean, legally speaking, I suppose either would work, legally speaking, but from a moral standpoint, I feel like it would be good to have it on both, and not just that, also have like a one-on-one with the actor and make sure that they're comfortable. Because like I said, you can add things. It's like when you're applying for a job, you put, yeah, I can work as many hours as you need because you need the work. But in reality, you'd be comfortable working a specific amount of hours or this amount or this specific time. So sometimes you will put things in there that like, yeah, sure, I'm comfortable with that. But in the moment, you might be like, oh, this is a little more awkward than I thought it would be, or I'm not feeling comfortable with this. Like I thought I could do this, but I can't, you know? So it's always good to check in my opinion.
Yep.
And
I agree.
Yeah, and Arden said,
like, and don't have two different scripts.
Yes. And Arden said,
That's all I'll
to
say.
be honest, most movies, and especially Black Mirror, just make it uncomfortable for me and distracts me. Yeah, there are some sex scenes that you're like, why is this here?
Yeah, so there's a lot, like a lot of people don't even really necessarily like it. So like it doesn't really detract from your movie as much as people act like. Like nobody's going to the movie just, if people are going just for a sex scene, then your movie kind of is like, why are they going to that movie just for a sex scene when you can kind of see sex scenes wherever you want? So I don't think it's absolutely necessary most of the time. And
most people just want to like push the envelope and be risque because they can, and it doesn't really add as much.
I think there are certain moments when it shows character, like if they're awkward or if they're, feeling uncomfortable during it or something, and there's like actual character moments happening.
Yeah, one of the articles.
But if it's just a regular sex scene where they're having sex, I don't think it's absolutely necessary most of the time.
So that's the thing. I disagree with that to an extent, because I feel like some sex scenes can also add to intimacy, like showing the development of a character, their relationship, like if that kind of thing.
But I was just meaning like a sex scene that doesn't really have any character development at all. Like they're having sex. Like it's not.
It can just be a hot movie, but still development, growth.
I heard that.
but the actors have to be comfortable. Sometimes you just have two hot people and you're like, hey, you guys want to show yourselves off? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just like humor joke, because it was a heavy topic, I use humor to deflect. Anyway.
Again.
So
Arden asked, also, is there a legal policy regarding people in the other room and the actors to not have their cell phones out if there's a sex scene going on? That's just general policy in a film in general, like not having your cell phone is just general policy. So
you should have your phone off or it's silent.
Yeah, or not on you when you're on set. So
I think that's part of the non-disclosure agreement, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of things in there about cell phones and what you can film and not film and stuff like that.
And if they would be kicking out most sets are going to kick out as many people as they can from those scenes. So there wouldn't even be enough people in there to hold a cell phone, because they'd have to be doing something very essential, like holding the camera or watching the monitor to see like if everything's going right.
If I saw someone with a camera on my set, I'm sorry, but I would blacklist them on the spot.
There's another pro, and
especially if it's a sex scene, like that's ridiculous.
And that's another reason why NDAs are also important for scenes like that, to make sure that there isn't a scene that someone's like uncomfortable with, and the next thing you know, it's leaked, or a rehearsal or something like that, to protect the actors and the people working there as well. That's another reason an NDA is important. Another thing that I don't know if you mentioned, honey, I'm sorry if you did, is after they communicate with the director and the actor, they will have a closed rehearsal.
Oh, you're talking about the intimacy coordinator. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they'll have a rehearsal with just the actors and them, and maybe some essential crew, like the camera operator that they need to like move around and see where they're going to go and where they're going to be. But that is another thing they don't have a lot of crew for. You know, like they don't have everybody in there. They just have whoever needs to be in there.
Yeah.
I feel like you can do that and probably should do that even if you don't have an intimacy coordinator, but having someone that can help and having that
The liaison.
Yeah, and having someone that and having that intimate rehearsal before shooting that scene, I feel like is so important because you can see, okay, are you comfortable with this? Would you like us to change anything? You know,
and let them do it dry, if anything.
Whoa, that was the other thing. Don't over direct the scene is another thing. It was
don't over direct, yeah.
Because you don't want to be like, oh, you're not being, you know, flirty enough, or you're not being sexy enough, or whatever. That's just going to make the actors be way more in their head, and they're going to be feeling awkward. And they're already awkward and uncomfortable, most likely. So you don't want to add to that by being like over directing them.
Then
how to move.
Then you don't want to have a B movie either, where it's like you see the scene is like no chemistry. You're like, you could tell they got no chemistry. They just fake it.
There are even chemistry coordinators too. That's another thing that exists to help create chemistry between the leads.
Well, I always believe spending time with the actor, just like how they would try to, when an actor is trying to, you know, portray or do a documentary on someone, they always try to go spend time and understand the person from that.
For the ones where they really hate each other.
Where they really what?
You know, The Notebook, the two actors hated each other's guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a
Raphael,
great job.
what did you say was sketchy?
Oh, the phone on set thing.
Oh, yeah. That's just. But yeah, anything else, honey, in there that I might be forgetting?
That was all I had for the intimacy stuff and the they said like focus on foreplay. The majority is focusing, if you do have a sex scene, focus more on the foreplay than you do on the actual act, because it leaves.
We all know how the act goes. You don't need to.
I think like what Angel was saying.
I said I have a question. I don't know if it's a dumb question or not.
There's
no
dumb questions.
Okay.
Jinx, you guys owe me soda.
Let's say, like, hypothetically, you have an actor and they refuse to do any intimacy scenes or like anything like where they have to dress down to that level.
They gotta go.
Like,
hey,
wait, hold on.
Will there ever be a situation where you would use like a double for that?
Actually, yes.
Yes.
Movies,
Oh yeah,
use
lots of people.
Body doubles
are
very common.
The Witcher,
Very
for
cool.
example,
that's a definitely
on Netflix. The Witcher, for example, on Netflix has like a few nudity scenes. If any of you have seen it, and you can like, I knew it when we were watching. I was like, her boobs look different.
Her butt looked too big.
You can totally tell because she was kind of hot, and we were like, yeah. Anyway, so we were like, her boobs look different. So basically, we noticed that we watched an interview with her about it, and she said that she felt comfortable with some nudity, but she didn't feel comfortable with all of it. So basically, I think 40% of the nudity scenes were her, and the other 60% were a body double.
Yeah, so it depends on how much your budget is and everything, but they do, especially in larger sets, they use a bunch of either CGI or a double or a mixture.
And like what Angel was saying,
and for non-sexual
you can
scenes
also-
as well. For just
Look
scenes
at
in
Beowulf.
general.
That was
Oh yeah,
all
I know for
CGI.
like stunts and stuff. I just didn't know if that
And in foot double, really? So it's kind of like the
Beowulf.
double from Friends.
In Beowulf, there was a lot of CGI.
is that if like someone has like really ugly feet or something?
Right?
Their feet look like a hobbit, so they're like, oh god, we gotta get somebody to put their feet in front.
Or what if they're doing that foreplay scene and they keep scratching their foot with their nails?
Yeah.
It's too rough.
They don't have time to cut them, so they'll just get a foot double. No, but like there was an episode of Friends where Joey was playing, I think it was like, was it Mel Gibson or was it Al Pacino? Al Pacino's butt double. And it was basically like a scene in a shower, and he was supposed to be Al Pacino's butt or something.
Oh yeah, like he would step in so that when they're filming the back of it, like the actual butt, it would be him instead of the actor. So they do that a lot.
Yeah.
So there are ways around it. I also do think if they have a lot of sex scenes and stuff, they do have something in the contract, or they do explain it a little bit, at least briefly, beforehand to see if they're okay with it. I don't think they go into too much detail, which is where the awkwardness and all of that miscommunication stuff comes in. But before you get hired on, I would believe that most things would say, hey, there's a nude scene in this. Are you okay with that? Before you even get hired. And then they go into more detail later about what that nude scene entails.
Because
What that
a lot of actors are
That's
also
the tricky part right there.
a lot of actors
Not
are also
That's the
always.
tricky part right there.
I didn't say
Not
always. I'm not always, but I'm saying
Yeah, no.
most things do have they do have that in the contract just to make sure that
Yeah.
you agreed to this. So
Right.
even though it was
That's
just
that
very
gray area.
minimal and they
That's the
acted like it was nothing.
ideal. That's the ideal situation, right? Like
Right.
it being mentioned
Yep.
way beforehand.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I mentioned that I think having that conversation all the way from the beginning of film school or all the way from the beginning of working in the industry is important, and having that training of knowing how to communicate, of knowing how to make an actor comfortable and showing their limits, because there have been way too many cases of people taking advantage or abusing their power, or people not having a voice or being afraid of losing a job. So
Yep.
I feel like we are moving more towards that conversation, and that is a wonderful thing. But we need to work on it as small businesses, as small productions, as people that are working in this industry also have that knowledge and work on that ourselves as well.
May I say something funny?
Yeah, go ahead.
Funny. I'm curious about the chemistry coordinator, because I had a scene where in college where I had a scene where I had to kiss a guy I was totally not attracted to, and that person should have been around during that time. I needed
Honey,
help.
just close your eyes and imagine whoever you're attracted to. I was gonna say
It was tough. I had to keep my eyes open right until the moment I had to kiss him, and I was not.
This is where professionalism comes in.
Oh,
You're getting paid to do a job. You got to do it.
Oh, honey, you can have all the professionalism in the world. If the guy has smelly breath and
that was another thing. Intimacy coordinators will bring like mints and gum,
yes, man,
stuff like that.
Spray, gum, so many
things to freshen the breath.
Yeah, because you can be as professional as you possibly can. Halitosis is something hard to fight. Okay, it's just not easy.
What I want to know is why you had to keep your eyes open.
Right? Like,
weird.
just close your eyes and
making out with
imagine like
someone
a
and you
really
keep your
hot.
eyes open. That's kind of
No, just right till the
That's like-
right till the minute I had to kiss him. So
So she was looking at him as she was.
So I'd be
yeah.
I'd be curious to know what a chemistry coordinator does, but if it's off topic, we can move ahead.
we didn't really see anything on it this time, but
I will research more. I'll let you know the difference between the two if you'd like. It's just because I heard about it in I watch a lot of like Vanity Fair interviews, so I heard about it in one of the interviews, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, it could be a point between your main actors, or even your supporting roles. If you like, if you're trying to create this whole world and you're trying to convince that there's love stories going on in the storyline, and then you realize that your two main actors, even as professional and interesting as they may be, have no chemistry, then what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So I will definitely research that, and we can touch on it on Thursday because we don't have that much on Thursday. Does that sound good for you guys?
That sounds good.
Okay, cool.
All right,
I'll add that to my
anybody else
list.
have any comments or questions on intimacy coordinators or?
And Raphael, to your point, dude, how you can brush, you can wash, you can do everything. There is some halitosis. You only medication for real. Like,
that sounds like a serious problem.
yeah, it is a serious like.
I mean, when in doubt, use Listerine.
No, for real. I know people that unfortunately they brush their teeth, they use Listerine, they were constantly with gum, and if they went without eating for a couple hours, their breath would be horrible.
Always
and
helps.
only
Why
medication.
are you talking about Lakota like that, Priscilla? Don't expose Lakota like that.
I didn't want to say it.
No,
Come
no, no.
on.
Oh,
Come
I'll
on.
hop right
Come
into
on.
that one.
We're not going to, we need a liaison
freaking
coordinator to talk
hypochondriac.
about people's breath.
Coda's a clean freak. He will wash his hands and brush his teeth as many times as he possibly can. I'm very grateful for that. So, yeah.
That's true love.
Yep.
Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention about the intimacy coordinator is they usually choreograph the sex scene beforehand. So they will.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
why we were saying, like, if they touch them in the place not previously agreed to, they stop the scene and say, or they wait for the end of the take and then they say,
or
like,
they
hey,
will show
was that
another
okay?
angle to where they
You
can
know, and then
touch.
they start talking about the boundaries again with the actors. If the actor accidentally like went too far or did something the other actor had already said, they're not.
They will help coordinate them and like how they are touching each other, where they touch, so that the camera angle can, like I said with the example of the groping, so that it looks like he's groping, but he's really not, or something like that.
This feels like it could easily go downhill.
Yeah, and that's why
Sure it
you
does.
call. That's why
Coming on at a
in her
fight, air
example
player.
of there being a safe word, where the person's like, "Hey, boundary right there." Hey, Sarah.
Hey guys, I'm late.
Hey.
I just got
Hey,
off.
good.
Fine. I was gonna say congratulations. So cool, you're on set. But
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
awesome.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't been working all that much because I'm mostly doing this class and stuff. But I was like, just one day. So.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, girl. Whatever. One day.
Yeah, I
do
mean,
it.
you can't tone down set experience too, right? So it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Right.
Everyone's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool.
All right. Does
We
anybody
were
else
just
have any
for
questions
Sarah.
or comments on this before we move on, though? There's
I
actually
was
a few
just
more things we
gonna.
can touch on, so I'm trying to like, kind of.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Sarah, for we were talking about intimacy scenes and intimacy coordinator. So if you want, when we finish this meeting, you can go back on the recording and listen to it. Unfortunately, a big chunk was talked before we pressed the record button. But if you have anything you'd like to add, feel free to add it in the group or next meeting as well, when we'll be talking about like chemistry coordinators and stuff like that.
Oh, sounds great. That sounds kind of fun. I'll have to listen, go back obviously and listen into that. But I look forward.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation to hear from everybody.
That's awkward. Sorry, my two kids. Yes, I will watch that and it will be great. And I apologize for being late. I love you guys' class. Thanks for having me.
That's fine. We're happy. You know, it's great. You're getting work. We're happy for you.
Okay, so does anybody else have any questions or comments about intimacy coordinators or romance scenes in general? Cool. All right, so two things I wanted to say actually was before we even really began, I was trying to say these, but I forgot. The shot list is going to be due next Monday, July 19th, and the green screen exercise also due July 19th next Monday. So
I just have to.
is done if you guys are going to be working on those.
I'm half finished mine, so.
What was that?
Oh,
I filmed it. I just need to edit it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I heard. I think Dee was telling me she was working on it today, and I think Priscilla and I are going to work on ours tomorrow. So it'll be.
Coda wants to take me back to Brazil on the green screen.
I thought it'd be funny if she was like saying stuff in her language and we put her in Brazil, but she's kind
But
of.
I didn't want to be like I was like, I don't want to be a stereotype. But like, I didn't want it to be too like clowny or funny. But also, it would be pretty cool to be like, I was thinking maybe like cold weather, like snow and whatever, and then boom, we're in Ipanema, and I'm like, yay!
Oh, son of a.
It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those two things are going to be due next Monday, so try to get them done if you can. Also, for everyone who is interested in being part of the short film, I'm going to send out I'm going to like talk to you all about your schedules and what time would work on either a Tuesday or Wednesday sometime for a fake call sheet, just to see, like, make sure everybody's okay with it, like everybody can read it and come to a quote unquote meeting for the short film, just so I can like make sure you guys are all reliable, honestly, like to make sure you guys.
Mel, what did you ask? I'm sorry. Mel asked something. Did you get
What?
bit?
I was asking Daniel.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead, honey. I'm sorry. I thought she was asking if we received something.
No. But yeah, I'll be sending out a call sheet for like a fake meeting just to see like who can come, and I'll talk to you all about it beforehand for scheduling, and just to make sure you guys are reliable on coming on time and all that. That's really important.
We will be judging all of you.
No, honestly, it's really important, and I want to take this actually seriously. So I'm going to start like taking it more seriously with everyone that wants to be involved.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that the people that, because like we said, you might want to be involved, but you're unable to for whatever reason. And it's okay to be honest with us, because there will be more opportunities. This is the first of hopefully many shoots we will do on both the East and West Coast. So if you can't make it to this one, it's fine, but we would really appreciate it if you can, and if you want to be very clear with us and to keep up with us as much as you can. And like we said, for those of you that can't be physically, we can see how many remote jobs we can do. There probably won't be many, but we'll try and see.
Yeah, like this isn't meaning that you guys are going to be on set and you're going to be part of it for sure. It's just the people who are interested on possibly coming eventually. That's it. I just want to make sure that you guys are all good. You can read a call sheet and you can come in on time. So yeah.
Sounds good. I know how to make one.
Huh?
I said I can make a call sheet.
Yay!
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Not only can I read it, I can create it. Woohoo!
I wonder who helped you with that.
Right, Daniel, my buddy.
Nice.
Let her have some credit, Daniel.
I'm gonna just YouTube.
No.
I'm gonna just YouTube Priscilla and Lakota. Call.
Oh, what the hell?
What? You suggest us what?
Behind the scenes of us.
Did he
All right.
disconnect? Did Brent
I'm
disconnect?
not sure.
Nah, I
Sorry,
didn't
Brent.
disconnect. No,
Wait,
no,
you cut off, honey. What'd you say?
I didn't disconnect. No, I was saying I would just YouTube you guys doing a call sheet. You guys have YouTube videos on it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, we're all going to, aren't we all going to be doing a call sheet? Isn't that the exercise?
No.
Isn't
No,
it going to be the
No.
exercise?
The exercise is a shot log, and then not
I'm
a shot
sorry,
log,
guys. I have so
shot
much time.
list, and then after that it'll be a
Right.
shooting schedule. But that's
Right. We're going to be doing
Right.
it. Yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense.
I was talking about. I will be sending out one for the people who are interested in being part of the short film, possibly, and then we'll work on real schedules later on once we get closer to it. But just to make sure everybody's on the same.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. So
Awesome.
I'm going to talk about a shot log real quick. Does anybody know anything about this? It's kind of the same as something we've already learned about, which was the camera, like the take log and all of that. Basically, the person in charge of it will be, usually it's the assistant director, or it can be like someone else, depending on what set you have and who's in charge of what. But it's just a log where they usually do like a test shot at first to see what the naming of the file will be on whatever you're using. If you're using a media card, for instance, it usually has numbers or letters followed by numbers, and you'll write that down. And then you just write down what scene and take it is, what the shot description, and then like a little bit of a comment, like if it was a good take or a bad take. And it's used to give to the editor so that they have an easier time grabbing the right shots, because there's going to be a lot of different takes from the same angle. It's better if they know which one's the best and which one's the middle and worst. And then, if the best one works, they can just stick with that one. If it doesn't work, they can try the next one instead of starting from the top and going all the way down through, because that's going to take too much time. You keep tracks of a lot. Some of them it depends on how in depth you want to get, but some of them will keep track of like the time code, like how long, when the actual start of the take was and when the end of it was, according to the camera or the sound device you're using. What kind of lens type, focus, what the focus is, the filter, shoot date. They'll include the page number, project name, production company, what clip number it is, or the name on the media card, like in this example. The scene number, take number, shot description, and any comments. You all right?
Yep. Just lifting up a heavy box.
All right.
Maybe mute yourself while you're holding up stuff, just in case you break a bone and we have to hear it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I hope you're okay.
Yeah, that's just a way for you to keep track of everything that was shot during the shoot and give it to the editor, and they'll get it from these multiple forms from all the different people so that they can line them up and see which ones are the best takes. Because maybe the AD thinks this one's the best take, but you get the sound log that we learned about that says the sound was off, and they're like, okay, well, that one's a good take for visual, but it's not good for audio. So next, and then they'll keep going down the list. So this is a good thing to have all of these different people doing this so that the editor can just easily look through and see if everyone agrees on the same take being the best, great, use that take. Unless, it doesn't work, then you try the next one or whatever. But it's just a good way to know if there's anything not working according to anyone. So does anyone have any questions or comments on the shot log?
No, so that's the shot log. Wait, so the shot log is where we do the takes? What takes are good?
Yeah, so it'll be usually, they said like the assistant director or whoever you can put in charge of it. They're just basically doing sometimes the camera operator will have a camera log, and then the sound operator will have a sound log, and then you'll just have somebody else with this kind of form. It's a shot log, which just keeps track of best takes.
Yeah, I know that makes sense. I was just confirming that was the name of what we were talking about.
Okay, yeah, shot log.
Yeah.
Sounds good, Lakota.
All right, cool. That's that, guys. And then the next thing we'll learn a little bit more about next semester when we go more in depth into scouting, location scouting, but it's called a tech scout checklist. It's really good to have when you're trying to go scout a location or you're sending someone to scout it and you want to give them a list of things to look for so that you can make sure that location is going to work. Because it's not just
I've
about
never heard of that.
Huh?
I've never heard about that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a professional document, but I know a lot of different independent places use it, like No Film School and Studio Binder talking about it. And I thought
I'm going to start using it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing because when you go to a location, you want to make sure you're not just looking for how it looks, but also the technicalities and the logistics of if it would work.
Yeah.
So it depends on the amount of people you have.
That kind of thing. But also it might be called something else in Canada as well, because we heard someone call a shot list what was it, a scene list or something like that? Or
a shot log could also be called a scene or a take log. It just depends, but yeah.
Yeah, scene log or a take log. So yeah, some things have different names. But we thought this was really interesting because the whole video was talking about how they were looking for a location, and they even gave an app for it, which was similar to the website that Brian sent us a while back about renting places out to shoot. And he said to have this list so that you don't waste your time or the renter's time knowing if this location is right for your project or not.
It'll also make you seem more professional because they'll see, oh, you're looking for this stuff. You'll be able to explain it more easily. Like, yeah, so we're going to be checking, we're going to go, where's your power box located? And then you go look for it. And then they know why, instead of you just poking around their house or their whatever apartment.
And you're not wasting time.
Right.
Because time is very important on sets.
And so you just take one of these kinds of lists, and it just shows what you're looking for. And so then if you're handing this off to somebody else, they are able to know what you were looking for and why, and then they can say if there's any problems with any of these things. They do a 360 test, which means they're looking around the entire room. Oh, in the background through the window, there's a McDonald's sign in the back, so it's a logo issue. We're gonna have to deal with that. So then they would write down notes.
Can I throw something in on this too?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're gonna do this, always bring a nightlight with you, because then you can test each plug that's in the building or in the area you're in.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's what I always bring a nightlight in my camera gear, just for that. It's then I know what plugs are active and which ones are dead. because sometimes locations have dead plugs.
And that's a good point. And then you also want to check the
That was
power
my own
box to
little
see
check.
how much power is able to go through those certain areas, because that's another thing, that if you overload a certain outlet that's only can provide so much power, and you're trying to do, you know, all your lights from that source or something, and it's going to be
If you plug in
overloading
a generator, you're screwed.
yeah, and that's a safety hazard, and it could also blow out their light source, or it could cause a fire. So stuff to look for. And then like sound, you know, like if there's a bunch of construction happening in the area, or there's a road that's a highway or something that has a lot of honking and driving, and or they're next to an airport, there's planes taking off, stuff like that, you want to make sure you jot down on this list. And just like anything, surroundings, if there's a playground nearby that might make some noise from some kids playing the next day, maybe they're not over there right now, but you know, you just want to keep track of all these different things. And that's why one of these lists are good, so that you don't forget about it when you're on set.
Yeah. I love lists. No, I do.
But yeah,
I get you. Lists are the best.
Yes, they are. Even though I suck at lists, because I make the entire thing and I always end up forgetting this one little thing.
But that's,
don't remember it
but
until
that's
I'm
why
at
these
home.
are already pre-made, so you can just print it out and go look.
I love making lists. I like every time I travel like to states and stuff, I always make a list and I make the PSA people laugh.
Well,
Like,
that's I am good with organizing other people's crap, but when it comes to my list, like my stuff, I always forget this one thing, and I always remember it when we're halfway, like driving outside of the space. I'm like, dang it, I forgot that. And yeah, it's a problem. I need to get better at it.
Yep.
But yeah, does anybody have any questions or comments about a tech scout list or a location scout checklist, whatever you want to call it?
Do you have an example of one?
Of what?
Example of one.
This one I'm
It's
looking
already
at is
filled
actually
out.
from Studio Binder. It's free, so I don't know.
Are you going to be sending that example to us?
This the website that has this free one?
No, I mean like what it looks like. I can
The
always
list.
like.
Well, I'm
name.
showing it right here on the screen. It's kind of like this.
And what he's showing is the Reddit page, right?
Yes. Yeah, so you can go on the Reddit,
So here's the thing.
LCloud MediaStudies, and you can see it. And also in the syllabus, it should have.
So here's the thing, guys. We just want to make sure, like, to explain. We tried putting it all in like the
Yeah, so if you go right
stuff
here,
like that.
and if you go into the actual syllabus and go to scouting checklist, this is the one that we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
It's
So
free.
I just wanted to explain, honey, because like some people have come to us and been like, oh, why don't you just put it on your website or all that stuff, so that we don't have like multiple platforms. And the reason is because we technically don't own that site yet. Coda can explain it better than me, because we actually
Oh
tried.
no, I mean we don't own these forms, so that's why.
Yeah, we don't. Oh, right, because we don't own the forms. So putting it on our website could be an issue.
No, I'm saying if you send it by email, example.
Oh no, yeah. I'm just explaining because some people were like, oh, not everyone has Reddit, or not everyone has Facebook, or not everyone has this. And it's very scattered. And I was just explaining why, because on Reddit, it's a lot easier for us to put the links or the images and like show the rights to that person, as opposed to putting those images on our website. It could lead us open to copyright infringement.
Oh no.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
No.
So we're just explaining, because we have tried to make it as accessible as possible and as simple for you guys as possible. We just have some barriers that we are limited by right now, but
yeah, that's fair.
Like to make it clear that if anyone is having trouble finding things, or would like, or has any suggestions or questions, or would like any help keeping up, please let us know, because communication is very important and it helps us be better. For example, next semester, we will be working on having more videos explaining the basics of the group, instead of having like a huge email. We will be working on make filtering the syllabus a little bit more and having like more essentials, like 2 or 3 different examples of the same thing in different ways instead of like 10, and making it a lot more condensed and easier for people to go through, and stuff like that. I will be working on as well all the visuals that are in the Reddit. I will be asking Coda to send to me so I can also send it to the WhatsApp for those that don't have the Reddit. Even though I really suggest the Reddit, it's really helpful. But for those that can't, I will try to do that as well. It's a lot on our plates right now, but next semester, I hope that we can be a little more organized in that. But whatever suggestions you guys have, tips, any questions, any difficulties, please let us know so we can make it a better format for you guys and help you guys out, to learn better as well.
This was awesome. So I appreciate everything, and take your time, no rush.
Yeah, you can message us in
No,
private if
not
you're not
above that.
comfortable in public.
Yeah. Yeah,
we'll
let me
be
message in private because you know how my mouth is.
Oh my god.
No, all right. The actual form though, Daniel, is there's a few actually. There's two at least that are printable right here. And then I don't know if this one is or not. It's just another example.
Could
But-
you send me a link to that?
Do you want to just send the link
to
to
it?
the
I'll send it to you
WhatsApp?
right now, actually. It's just easier.
Yeah,
Send it to
thank
me
you.
and I'll send it to the WhatsApp.
I'm
Send
just
it
gonna
to
send
me
it
via.
right in the chat.
Yeah, okay,
That
I'll
one,
send it.
that's the Studio Binder one, and then here's another example. I don't know what this one looks like. but
I'll
it's-
send it to the WhatsApp as well.
There you go.
Appreciate you guys. You guys
Oh,
are
shoot.
awesome.
Well, there's that one. Anyway, for me, I would get the one from Studio Binder because I like the way theirs is set up, but that's just me. Anyway, does anybody have any questions or comments about that?
Cricket.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna
Hey,
move on to
From
the
now
stuff
on,
that
we're
we
doing the
skipped.
5-second rule. We're gonna ask if anyone has questions, wait 5 seconds and then move on. So no crickets.
I love
Hey, I did.
cricket.
No.
Can
Hey,
we
you're
have one?
lucky.
No.
You're lucky
Yeah.
my crickets died, or they would be buzzing right now.
Wait, you had real crickets?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, past tense.
Yeah.
I
You
I
had
have a bearded dragon. What do you expect?
Oh, so he ate the
Oh,
cricket.
yeah, okay. They didn't die. They were.
Okay,
they
so
were.
Clearly, you're not good with animals.
So it's now
Clearly,
moved
we
down
don't
from
let
10
nobody,
No,
don't let no dog or any animals go by Daniel because he
Hey.
clearly be killing his animals.
no, the pet store gave me way too many crickets at one point, and he only eats 5 crickets a day.
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the untruth.
All right, let's keep going, people.
All right, let's move on. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the stuff that we
He
left
said
out.
Bobby Smurder. Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
No, I'm saying, hey, Bobby, hey, Simon, because they came in now.
Oh man.
Now we're gonna move on to the stuff we skipped a few weeks ago. When we did the storyboarding exercise, we ran out of time, so we moved it to today. Trying to hopefully go through this stuff a little quickly if we can, but I mean, there's kind of a lot to go over. How to film action scenes. And so there's different kinds of action scenes. There's fight scenes, there's chase scenes. We're going to kind of go through a few tips that people have given on those things. So in one of the videos we were watching, it was from Film Riot, and Priscilla and I had a comment on how they were doing the fight scene. They had the people kind of getting pushed around a little too easily, and it seemed like there needed to be more weight to the fight.
It was a lot of them throwing themselves in the situation.
When they're kicked, they fly back to the other side of the wall.
But to be
jump
fair, the
out of the
lighting was
way.
amazing. The lighting was really cool.
Choreographing was
The
really
whole
good.
thing was
It felt a little too
Actually,
Because we don't want you guys to think we just want to be
Gravity
really
was-
careful. We're not criticizing anyone's work because that's amazing that they're doing that. We're just pointing out little things that could be improved here and there.
because you'd be barely touching them with their foot, and they would go flying back, or things like that can be hidden with camera angles and editing tricks, so you can kind of make it look different. But they were trying to show it in like one take, so it was a little, not one take, but they were trying to show a lot through only a few different cuts, which is good. I agree with that. Too many cuts I don't like in a fight scene.
Yes.
I think it looks ridiculous and you don't even know what's happening, so what's the point? But that happens because they're trying to hide things that look weird. And so it is good when you can try to get a long take for a fight scene, because that means they're actually looking like they're fighting. But I feel like certain things also need more weight to it, and they shouldn't have your people fly back exactly. You should have them get hurt, kind of turn away from the camera.
And that is a pretty hard thing to do. It really is. It's not easy.
No.
It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of like knowing how to cut it just the right way. So there's also that, but training and practicing and keeping an eye out for that, making sure that it looks as believable as possible and it doesn't just look like they're throwing themselves back or anything like that. You're not going to get it right every time, obviously, because these people have been working on it for years and they like had like little things here and there. We're just, like we said, pointing out things that we can learn from.
Yeah, they say there's a term called stacking, which is aligning the hit with the reaction in the same 2D space, so that if your camera angle is over behind them, you can punch a certain way and it'll look like you're hitting their face when really you're punching maybe like you're a foot away from them, or your angle is completely off from how you would actually punch their face. But to the camera, it looks like their hand's going to their face. And
It's like the whole slapping technique from back in the day.
Slapping your hand, making it sound like it's their face, when really it's just your hand in front of you. They said you can be anywhere from 2 feet to 6 inches apart, but 6 inches isn't recommended for if you're not a professional, because then you're really close and you can actually hit them. So it's just about finding those camera angles and finding what actually.
And we don't want no lawsuits.
Yeah. So if you have a fight scene, you want to just kind of make sure you're choreographing it with your camera person, so they are there to kind of see like what can work, what can't. They can see like if that person's getting ready to punch from the side, they need to go up more in an angle and it'll feel weird to them, but it'll look good to the camera. And make sure it looks like they're actually punching that person instead of it being like really obvious that they're not.
And have lots of blocking.
I did a scene when a girl was slapping me in the scene and they kept saying, cut, do it over. I got stopped about 6 times. My face is like blue.
Some things will do like real actual contact, and it depends on what the director wants. Sometimes they'll do it in slow motion and speed it up in post, or sometimes they'll do it real speed depending on how comfortable everyone is with that. But the majority of these types of scenes, they aren't physically contacting each other.
And like Danielle said in the comments, have lots of blocking, positioning right, that kind of thing.
They say like if a camera is from a, go ahead.
Nowadays, like they got stunt actors to take place now. That's like the missing part of like my productions is like I don't go through the process of hiring stunt actors, but a lot of the stunts you see nowadays a lot of them are pretty real, with the exception of like sound effects and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw a video of some stunt actors actually showing like their tips and what they learned, and for people that can't afford to like pay for like someone to actually teach them how to do it, or specific actors. I think Filmright, one of their movies that was also like they actually had an actual stunt. She was a stunt actor and she was playing that scene as well.
Yeah, so they actually used her for the actual role because they had her do her own stunts, really.
What movie was that? I think it was Death Wish, where it was like the whole cast was straight up stunt actors.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. We were talking about some
or Death
short
Proof.
film
I think it was Death Proof. One of Rodriguez's films. I think it was like a Death Proof or something like that.
That's awesome.
Oh, Daniel, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, like you got to be like with all these, like you got to make sure the training's on par, like because look what happened with Crow. The main actor got killed on set.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Brandon Lee, right?
Yeah, the scene where he Well,
That was a damn
spoiler for the
shame.
movie. Can I spoil the movie?
I don't even know which movie you're talking about,
The
but
Crow.
Yeah, I'm
The
not
Crow?
aware of this movie.
Oh my gosh,
It
the most
came out in the
iconic
early
film of all
90s.
But if you watch that,
93, I think.
but if you
I'm
watch
sorry,
that,
don't crucify me. I've never heard of it.
but if you watch that movie, you actually, spoiler alert, if you don't want to listen, don't listen. But the thing is, he gets shot in the movie and he dies in real life in the movie.
Oh, I know this.
What?
Like,
Brandon
just like
Lee, the son of Bruce Lee.
Yeah, the son of Bruce Lee died on a set.
Oh my gosh, I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I had heard of that.
I just watched The Crow recently, and it's just like
I own it.
really. Yeah, my brother owns it, so.
Oh, I
But-
heard of that. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, this is where rehearsal and making sure everything is safe for everyone comes in hands.
Yeah.
Didn't he
I
get
wa-
shot with a bullet? Supposedly they thought the bullet, it wasn't what do they call it? Those
A
It
foam
wasn't a
bullet
blank.
or a rubber
a
bullet.
blank or live round.
But the thing is, like, this is where, like, you got to make sure everything is checked because you never know what could happen on sets. Like, even with Brent said, he got slapped till he's blue, till it was an Avatar. The thing is, that should not have happened.
Yeah.
That should have been play tricked with the camera to make it look like he was hit when he wasn't.
Yeah.
Because that's not right. You should not be hurting your actors. You should not have them like.
The thing is nowadays, like that's what they're going for in Hollywood. They're going for the more real, raw. He actually took a punt. Like that's what they're looking for now. Like they're not trying to go about
Like
it camera angles.
Yeah.
But that's definitely the way to go. Like I prefer to do like camera angles and stuff like that.
I just took stunt training last weekend, and then even so, like I got everyone that's in that stunt training class to join my production just to play it safe to have those people on standby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Like-
what they'll do is they'll have like, okay, a guy getting hit in the face from a long shot, and there'll be no cutting whatsoever, and like it just gives that feel like if they're not cutting to something that it must be real. It has to be real, which chances are a lot of times it is. But that's just the new style now. It's like they want to do
like
the one take, the one shot, one take. Oh, like he got hit.
You make look like one take now. Don't you have prosthetics? Don't you have all this stuff that you can use that you don't necessarily need to actually punch somebody in the face?
Like what?
I don't know.
I
Like
mean,
I've heard of so many movies talk about like, oh, we did the one take effect instead of the actual one take.
I don't necessarily know how to fake like a real. I mean, there are certain ways you can put the camera. I mean, there's a lot of it is lighting. Like when I did this one film where we were trying to figure out. This was a girl hitting a guy over the face with an iron or something, and then it like breaks. So like we were trying to figure out like how we're gonna do it. So what we did was we lit it in a way so that like there were shadows from point A to point B. There was gonna be like a shadow, and she kind of goes into a silhouette. So it kind of looks like, because I told her, I was like, when you swing like in the opposite direction of where he's standing, but it's gonna look like you're hitting him in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is lighting, but then a lot of it is like in broad daylight where you can't really get around that aspect of like faking it.
Yeah. But like you said, I would be kind of scared just because unless that actor is trained for it, because I know that now, I could be wrong, but I've heard that a lot of actors are trained for action scenes now, and they actually prefer to do their own stunts, and they have the proper training and all that. But unless that is the case, I would be pretty like, it'll look a little less realistic, but it's safer for the actor and for me, and less liability. I would be
because
pretty
there are
scared.
ways to do it where it doesn't have to be all one take, but it can be very few takes, where they don't have to move around during every
that's
single.
That's the traditional fight scene. But nowadays, like that's what they want now is like the one take. You know, we're sitting
The
on one
one-take
shot and
wonders.
they're fighting. Yeah, that's what they're trying to go for now. Like before, it was like, oh, let's have him swing. We'll cut to this angle, and then when he connects, it'll look like he was punched. But they're not trying to do that anymore. They're trying to do the whole one. It kind of gives you that. It gives that effect, and it makes you question like, is this a real fight or not? Did he really take that hit? So that's what the one take is about. Because if you're not cutting, like you have to question like, did he really take that punch or not? So that's what the whole one take thing is.
Either
'Cause
way,
like you
I'm
would,
gonna.
with the cutting, it's like giving yourself away as far as like, oh, we edited this to make it look like he hit. They even do it in, if you watch wrestling, they do a lot of it, and they do a lot of that in wrestling too. Like if you notice, like they will cut from one angle, and a lot of that is rehearsed as well, where they say, okay, he's gonna power bomb him off the ring here, but like once his body goes up, we're gonna cut to another camera angle to make him look more effective. But if you've ever been to one of those shows, it's a lot different than watching it on camera and stuff like that. So they really have to sell it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they want to
But
make
there
it
are
look more-
ways, like, I don't know. I think there are ways, like if you're not doing a one take, you can also do like I said, like you can try to do like how Film Riot were doing it. They did maybe like 6 takes for the whole fight scene that took 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So it's not,
And it didn't look
they
good.
like
Like,
they
yeah,
angled
there
it
were
properly
things
to
in
where
there.
she wasn't actually hitting them. They weren't actually hitting her. Their only problem was they made the people go flying, and you could tell it
Yeah.
wasn't real. It seemed more like one of those old kung fu
90s
fighting.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, where the kung fu fighter like flicks them with their finger and they go flying away.
Everyone likes kung fu fighting.
Yeah. So I think there's a way to do it in between, especially if you're doing an independent project, to where you don't actually have to have the two actors hitting each other, and you don't also have to find a way to show them hurting each other if they're stunt doubles, but also not showing them because they're stunt doubles. There's a way to do some tricks with these kinds of things. But yeah, if it depends on what you're going for. If you're going for a one take, then obviously the actors most likely need to, they need to learn the choreograph like perfectly beforehand, and that's going to take a lot more pre-production process to get somebody to coordinate it, a fight coordinator or a choreographer to help out and help the actors train fighting, so then they know exactly where their fists and stuff need to be, because that's a.
I mean, that's also another section too. Like some of the people like getting beat up are trained to actually take hits. Like I don't remember what movie, but I was watching the behind the scenes, and the actress was kind of like nervous because the guy was telling, he was like, hit me, and like she didn't want to hit him, but like he kept telling her, he's like, look, like this is what I do. Like you have to actually like hit me for real. And she was like, that was just a completely different experience, like having to hit somebody like for real.
Do you think
Right.
prosthetics would work? Because we have that now too that looks so much like skin. Do you think that would be like, maybe that would be a good alternative? Like if you're actually
No.
gonna put somebody.
Yeah.
No, because that would rip off during the scene.
Well, think about
Yeah.
it this way. What they're not saying like hit you hard. They're just saying don't be afraid to touch me with it. It's like still pull it, but like maybe that's what their meaning is. Like maybe they're not asking you to like actually.
No, some of those guys were like, actually hit me. Like I can't.
Oh yeah, that's a form of training.
They were
too,
like, I need you to hit me in
Yeah.
order for me to react and to sell it. Like these guys are trained to take hits like that.
Yep.
So and they surrounded their main actors with, and she wasn't used to it, but they were telling her like, look, don't be afraid to hit me. Like it's gonna look like it hurts, but they were like, we're trained to take these hits and to train to like break these tables and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's basically
yeah.
employing an MMA fighter to be on your film.
That's pretty much what it is. Like they have trained people to take these hits and do these fight scenes and fight choreography. And then on top of that, like all the surrounding areas, like they have tables that are meant to break away, glass that are meant to break and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
I feel like that should stop. I feel like it looks so fake. When do you see a glass breaking in a movie and think, oh, that looks like it actually hurt? That looks like it was real. It's so rare. I'm like, oh God, it looks so fake.
I think the windows sell it pretty well, but the cups and the bottles.
The walls.
And then the thing is with that, like the props, So like I did one scene where it wasn't my movie, it was somebody, I was doing the sound work for it, but we had 2 breakaway bottles, so we can only do this twice. And like, thank God,
They're
like the sound
expensive.
came out right and everything worked, but it's just like you're so limited. You have to make sure the shot that you're getting is going to work, one, and then you have to make sure that like
You
that
light
you're
it up
just ready to
perfectly.
lighting everything, because we can only do that shot twice.
Yeah.
And we did, and we made it work, and it sounded awesome, it looked awesome, but it's just the principle of it, like, yeah, that's another thing you got. So when you see these fight scenes, a lot of them are like, you know, crucial that you get it right the first time or the second time, because the cleanup is, especially with glass, the cleanup is like, you got to be, yeah, on point with it.
Well, that's why we got you.
Yeah.
Right.
What time is it over there, guys? I'm all the way in another country, by the way.
Oh, it's 10:28 on the East Coast over here.
Over
It
here.
is 5:30 in the morning
West Coasters,
in the
Wow.
Middle East right
like
now.
7.
Wow. You got in early.
That's that Pacific time.
It's about
That's that
Wait, it's
Pacific
5 in the
Pacific
morning?
time.
Yeah.
Holy crap,
Yeah.
dude, you're dedicated. You must love us a lot.
You
I'm
really
just
don't.
got off work.
I
I saw
didn't
you
have
guys'
nothing to
email, and I
do.
was like, oh, I could probably. I saw the email. I was like, I can probably make this meeting right now, but here I am.
Nice.
He really don't. He's just
Yeah,
passionate
Mel
about
said
working.
something. Mel said something
I've-
that's so true. She
And the
said, like,
question
man,
is-
how? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think it's
And the
safer than
question is-
MMA though. In
And the
all
que-
honesty. Hmm?
And the question is, have you even slept yet?
Oh, have you slept, Brian?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I my work shift is from like the dark hours to when the sun comes up. So when the sun goes down and the sun comes up, that's my work schedule.
Oh, okay. You're not a 6 hours a night kind of guy, because I don't know how those people
No,
can
we're
do it.
doing stuff.
I do that.
Yeah, we're
I
doing
love those
12.
things.
Yeah.
So Mel said, man, how long can those people work for until they get too many head injuries like professional football players? Yeah, because you get the cauliflower ear as well. Like at some point,
Not necessarily. Because like the thing is, I actually like in MMA, you're more likely to because you're actually taking real hits. In stunts, like you are taking real hits, but not really. They're all pulled.
I mean, they're not as aggressive.
But
They're
I'm
not as
talking
hard.
about
It's
I'm
all
talking about
fake.
those people that he specifically said are trained to take
Yeah.
hits.
Yeah, but
Like
if
at some point, you just get hit
something
again and
so-
again and again and again, and you're like,
Well, the
okay,
thing is, if
your head needs a
you
break.
know a hit is coming, you're gonna, like I said, they're trained to take hits, so they know the hit is gonna come. So they know how to react. They know how to turn their neck a certain way so that the impact doesn't hit them as
Oh,
much.
so that
But
it
with an
looks
So
MMA
do
fight,
football players, right?
an MMA fight, they don't know, like, you know, they know how to fight, but you can't predict somebody's punch, you know, in every fight. So that's where that's coming from. They're taking
And they
like
also
real
make it
hits.
look like it impacted more than it did, I would imagine.
Yeah, like
But it's just really
Yeah.
well choreographed.
Yeah, even in Rocky, everything was like some of the hits what they did in slow motion, they really hit the person. But it
Yeah.
was like, you know, they practice him turning his head when he get the hit. It wasn't a strong hit. They'll cut with him showing like he's doing a forceful hit, and then they'll slow it down and do a little quick jab on the chin, and then he'll throw himself on the canvas. You know, they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there
It's
are a
just
lot
it's
of
just like wrestling. Like if you ever watch any wrestling match, like these guys do this all year round. And like you would think by now, like their backs would be broken because that's all they're doing is falling down and stuff like that. But no, like they're trained to land a certain way. They're trained to twist their head a certain way to make the hit look real.
So I
Stuff like
feel
that.
like the impact would be less harsh, is what Brian's trying to say. So like it wouldn't be as big. It wouldn't be as big of an injury as some
Yeah, I
people
don't think
would
I've ever
imagine.
actually had like a real like I may have had like minor concussions. I don't think I've ever had a real concussion.
But I do
real
feel
concussions
like
are kinky and stuff. They're nasty.
Yeah, and I was
yeah.
gonna say, I feel like there might be, of course, there's probably gonna be like once or twice concussion here, or where you need to like check it out. But I don't think it's as extreme, or it's probably not gonna take as much time. I'm sure there's also doctors or like specialists or checkups that you need
Yeah,
to
it's
do
usually when you have
after.
stunt work,
Well, it's just like if
especially
you
the bigger
notice your
sets, they'll
body.
have like a set medic, or they'll have somebody.
Yeah, to just make sure
Yeah.
and check in. You good? You good? Okay, cool. Let's keep going. You
Yeah.
know?
And if you have like if you notice your body is strong, you'll know like because the thing is if you train, you know your body, you know what it can do, you know where your limits
The
are gonna be.
limitations.
You know what it can handle.
Yeah, so if you say, hey, I need a minute, that's like, yeah. And like, yes, in some cases, like you can just walk it up. And in some cases you have to rest more. And the difference, it's knowing the difference. In my experience, like my worst injuries aren't even physical, they're emotional.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
But like we said, a medic to be there and
Yeah.
just check up on you and be like,
So
"Well,
liaison, you have somebody in mind who could be a medic on the November or December for our shoot?
we will hopefully we won't need a medic.
But
Yeah.
actually, you have someone that's actually licensed to do that.
Yeah, but we'll
Like a
try to
paramedic,
have like
somebody who has
contacts near a
their- whatever
hospital.
that kind of license.
I have
is.
my OFA, you guys, I have my OFA 3, so if that's ever necessary.
I could do the Heimlich maneuver. Hey, I'm licensed
Just so you
CPR.
guys know, I have that certification.
Oh,
It's
awesome.
not
And I got a-
paramedic, but it's
I need to get mine
Yay!
again.
And I got an AD machine.
A what?
I
A
was
what?
An AD machine.
machine.
Yeah, defibrillator.
Oh, that's
Dude,
scary. Are you okay?
No, it's for anybody who getting a heart attack. I
Okay,
could jumpstart their heart.
Okay, I was like, Brent, you got heart issues, honey? Like what?
No. I always have these things. I'm in the military guy, so I got fire extinguishers. I got all these things.
Okay.
Man.
Awesome.
I was worried about you for a second. I was like, oh my goodness, Brent, are you okay?
No.
But yeah, guys, there's a lot of different tricks you can do with this kind of stuff. So it depends on what you're trying to go for and how big your budget is and everything. Because if your budget's big enough, you can get those people that can actually do it. You can hire in those stunt choreographer and the coordinator and all those types of people that help set it up to make it look real and have the actors train. Or you could have stunt doubles come in. But if it's a lower budget production, I really recommend watching the videos that we have on this subject because they were actually really cool to watch.
On stunts, we mean.
On the stunts and on the fight scenes because I thought they looked really cool.
Right.
They were showing you like how you can, if you have the camera at like a low angle, you can punch near the chin and it's going to look like they're punching their head. If you have the camera at a high angle, you can punch near the forehead. It's going to look like they're punching their face. That way you're not punching their face. So if you accidentally do punch them, their head and their chin isn't as it doesn't get hurt as much as their cheek or their nose when you can actually.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then they said like if you are working with people, especially if you're working with actors who have never done a fight scene, you want to kind of, obviously you want to rehearse it and choreograph it with them and like show them some things to do. They showed some things that you can do to make it look more real, like recoil in a fight where you get punched and depending on how hard you got punched, well, quote unquote punched, you would turn and then go back to your original position. Because people don't just, that's why it felt so fake in that video is because people just go flying and people aren't really that strong and they don't really get knocked off their balance that ofin. So usually
not Dragon Ball Z.
I don't know that in anime they be doing that though, and all them Chinese and Japanese fantasy movies.
This
they
is
be
not
flying
Dragon
all over
Ball
the
Z.
place.
Yeah,
Everything is exaggerated in anime.
Everything.
Yeah. Even
Coda like jokes around that I'm an anime character sometimes, so I will just actually do the movements. Like when I'm mad, I'll just raise my arms sideways and be like, ah!
It's
I
satisfying.
can't wait to see Lakota and Priscilla fight scene.
Oops.
That's what we'll practice next.
Ay.
No, but so they
I'm
like
kidding.
doing a fight scene. You want there to be some gravity. You want there to be some weight because that'll make it feel more real. People get punched and then they get like knocked to the side or they step back a few times and then they get back to their original position. They don't just go flying or they don't just fall on the ground dead. It could take it like people can withstand a lot more than movies sometimes give them credit for.
Yeah, you always know those movies where it's like either the person dies immediately or they take forever to die. So it's like the exaggeration. Goodness gracious.
Like how long the fighter to recoil determines on how hard the hit was, and that's when you're choreographing it beforehand. Like they're gonna punch you really hard now, they're gonna punch you real quick, and so that's just a little like, ow, that hurt, and you turn your head back, and then they punch you really hard, and you're gonna take a step back, like almost looking like you're drunk, falling backwards because you got a really hard hit, and then they just you work those things out with them and kind of figure out what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
Say work on reactions so they aren't too early or over the top unless you want it that way. So you want to make sure that they're not like prepared for that punch, like I think Brent was talking about, because people aren't. If you're watching a real fight, people don't prepare for somebody to hit them. They might have their hands raised by their face, make sure they can block it, but they're not aware of when a punch is coming, so they're always on guard. But they're not just standing there waiting for their turn to punch or their turn to block or their turn to dodge. So you got to work on that a lot with the people. And you want to keep it simple. If you don't know, don't try any moves on set that you don't know how to do, or it's going to look bad and it's more of a safety hazard. And depending on where the camera is, you have to break what's called the focal plane, which is the center of frame, to make it look like you're hitting the other person. So even in the videos, they were showing like sometimes they barely have to punch at all, or sometimes they have to overextend it and really like turn their whole body with it to make their arm get into camera the right way so it looks like they're punching their face. And it depends on a lot of different things. So if you're doing it the way that some people do it, where they're not actually coming into contact for safety reasons and whatever else, then you want to make sure that you are letting them know how far they need to punch or how hard they need to look like they're punching and all these other things to make it look the most real you can.
So you the weight.
Huh?
Oh, so you the weight.
So
The
you
old
what?
meme. It's a meme.
Oh,
Just
okay.
make
I
it.
have no idea. I was confused.
What's that from?
It's Uganda Knuckles.
Oh, that.
I'll show you the way.
Gotcha. Well, that was all for the fight scenes. Then we have foot chases and car chases. But does anyone have any tips, tricks, comments, questions about that?
So I don't think you covered the other part of the fight scene, which is the editing part. There's, like you said before, there was cutting, and then you have the option of if you want to cut, or if you just want to stay on a really long shot to make it look like they're actually fighting or whatever. You're not really cutting. And then of course there's sound effects to make it. If you've noticed that, like before, like 90s movies, when they did like a punch, like it would have like this over exaggerated like crunch sound to it. Nowadays
moved around like if there was a kung fu movie, the wind would.
Yeah, like they don't do that really anymore. They're trying to make it look as raw and as real as they possibly can. So now when you hear a hit with a punch, like it actually sounds like a meat hitting meat. That's where they're getting their sound effects from. Like if you watch the original Rocky movies, like the first 3, and then go watch the Apollo Creed movies. No, not Apollo Creed, but the Creed movies. Like there's a huge difference in sound effects. Like a huge difference. Like it just changed. Like the original Rocky movies was like it sounded like he was getting hit with a truck or something, and then now like it's just the sound effects change so much. So that plays a huge part in making your hit looks more realistic. Sound effects. So like if you have a hit and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right, maybe the sound effects might help it out a little bit. So that plays a big part in the fight scene as well.
Yeah, nice.
And not only that, but they do that with guns as well. Like if you ever watch the old 90s movies and stuff, like the gun sound effects were like
awful,
super over exaggerated.
Yeah,
Like
it should be a pew, pew. I'm like, yo, what is sound like that? Pew. I'm like,
they don't
you hitting
sound
the
like
can?
that anymore. Like an original James Bond movie gun sound effect versus like a newer, up-to-date James Bond, like the gun sound effects are just completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that.
Cool.
I sent you a video, Lakota, on sound effects.
All right. You sent it in the
In Facebook.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to watch that some other time.
Yep.
Like after
No, I just think it would. I think it would be good for everyone to like not.
Oh, yeah,
tonight,
you could have
no.
sent it in the group if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can send it in the WhatsApp if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to show it here. But I don't know how.
Copyright, that kind of thing. You know, we just want to be careful.
Yeah. That thing with Brian sent in the group chat, not Brian, I think Lakota, with all the doubles, man, it's a lot of goddamn doubles that look really like the character.
They don't.
Yeah.
Some of them look really uncannily like their actors, but some of them look like that Schwarzenegger guy. Like the guy looks like the hair is different and everything. You know, like the whole build.
Oh yeah, like when stunt doubles don't look anything like their actor, it's obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, did you
Johnny
guys?
Depp one looks just like Johnny Depp though.
One thing that we heard was, and this is not necessarily a stunt double, but it's funny. So the guy, if any of you, I know Friends reference again. I'm sorry. I'm a lame, like half Gen Z, half millennial. Anyway, so there was an episode where he basically brought this guy to be his double or whatever, like his second Joey, another Joey, and it was actually the guy who was supposed to play Joey in the show, like one of the guys had auditioned, and he was playing like the crappier version of Joey, like the stunt double. And like we were kind of like, oh, poor guy. So he got actually auditioned for the role and he's playing the crappier version on the show. So that was kind of like, ooh. But he looked a lot like the vibe looked very similar, and we were like, I wonder if he could play his stunt double for any of the things. Because Matt LeBlanc actually broke his arm on one of the scenes. And believe it or not, it was just like him falling on the couch. Like him just jumping on the couch and he broke his arm. Like dislocated his arm. He dislocated his arm.
That's why they say
that stuff happens.
Things are
And that's why they say walking is a stunt, running is a
because
stunt.
they couldn't finish that episode because of that. And
And it was the shortest
that's why
episode.
little movements and little things like that are considered stunts more often now. Like when we said running is a stunt, that is
And
because
some people were like, no, it's
fall
not.
on the rocks. They can't, they can fall over and hurt their face, whatever. Like there are things that can happen. So
yeah, one of
they're safe now.
one
And
of
they call more things stunts now because of those little things that can happen. Even
one of the more famous ones was when Viggo Mortensen broke his toe in the Lord of the Rings.
What?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, when he in the scene when they thought that Pippin and Merry were dead, and he like kicked a helmet across the screen, and that like broke his toe. And so when you hear him like shout in the film, that's like part acting but also part him actually in pain.
Oh my gosh.
They said they were surprised that he stayed in character for it. They were like, wait, what? You broke your toe?
I didn't watch the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings yet. Dang it. I need to watch that. That's on my list. But
that is a very good in-depth behind the scenes for
I know you told me to watch it like 14 times. I haven't. I'll watch it this weekend, I promise. But yeah, so it was just we thought it was interesting because the fire department had to put his arm back in place.
Oof.
Yeah. Oof. And it was ironic because they were like, well, this was the shortest episode we were supposed to film because it all took place in the living room. It was like the one where no one's ready. And it all took place in that apartment area. And they were like, oh, this one's going to be really cheap to shoot and really quick. And it ended up, because of that one injury of him dislocating his arm, it ended up being the one they took the longest to shoot. And they had to wait months. Oh, and they also put it into the show. They also wrote it into the show that he like jumped off the bed and then he was wearing a arm brace for it. But yeah, so that was interesting. Like I can imagine from the perspective of the writers, like, oh, this is going to be a quick one to shoot, easy, not too many locations, and then an injury happens, and you're like, crap, we're going to have to wait months to finish this episode.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that a lot of things to look out for anytime you have things like that. Anything can happen, so you always want to be aware and be safe, because it's not just about, well, I mean, this is not really the best thing to say, but it's not always just about the safety either. It's about you know, the cost and
This is important. We're saying that too.
the production. If it wasn't a TV show, that would have just put production of the whole, if it was a film, that would have just put it all on halt for like however many months until he healed, because whatever scenes he's in, he can't be in him if the movie doesn't call for him having a broken arm, you know, because he's getting
Yep.
Yeah.
So because it's a TV show, it's easier for them because they can either shoot more episodes or write it in or stuff like that. But if it were a movie, they would have to halt production.
Or they
Yeah,
could
that's
just write him out of this episode.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's an episode. If it were a movie,
Yep,
they
that's
would
what
have
I'm
to
saying too.
Yeah, but writing a main character off, that's super hard and crappy. And
Yep.
so they might not want that, and they might be
They
like,
can
crap,
work
we have
in
to
other
write
shows. It just doesn't work in that one since they're all really kind of the main character. But yeah, like there's different things you can do, but it's just like
Right.
that's
Like
why
they
you
trying to
always
bring
wanna
a
just
new
be aware.
Superman. Like, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Like The Witcher 2 recently, I think Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah, Henry Cavill had an
They had to
injury.
put it on hold after the whole coronavirus stuff. They had to put it on hold, and then he got hurt, and they had to push it back again. So that's a lot
Even further.
cost and figuring out scheduling and all that other annoying stuff. So sometimes
Well, hopefully they figure out a way to not, to cut down on the injuries, and then
Yeah, but he was also doing his own stunts, I believe. So it was also a matter of
That's what happened when you're over 40, still trying to do your own stunts.
Hey, look, Jackie
hey,
Chan. is
Tom
old.
Cruise could do it.
Tom Cruise is doing it. Yeah. Well, Tom Cruise got hurt too.
well, here's the
I
thing,
know,
like,
but the man, mad respect.
Tom Cruise is always getting hurt, and Jackie Chan.
Yeah, but they still doing it, man. I don't know. I respect the crap out of that. Like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be doing it, but if you don't have kids and if you're like, yeah, screw with it, and you're
I
having
mean, you
fun,
saved
and
the
you love
production
it,
company a lot of
or he
money
does have kids.
when
But
you
yeah.
do your own stunts.
They all did.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I feel like that is very much of the actor. If he feels that it will be more genuine if he does it himself without his own stunts, okay. But
I
yeah,
don't
I
want to
do
do
see
my own. I
it.
think it would be fun, but I'm just saying you always
But
want
I
to be
do see it, like
careful.
Brent said, from the
Yeah.
perspective of the production. They'd be like, it was so much easier if you just let us put a freaking stunt double. Because if you get hurt, we're screwed, man.
Not necessarily.
Like, I
because
want to
it's
do a
actually easier
scene.
for
I want to
editing,
do
and it's easier for editing, and it's easier for like all of that stuff if you have the actual actor doing it.
Yeah, but it's
Sometimes
safer
it's
for
just
the
more
production, is
preferable
what
to
I
have the
mean.
actor doing it. No,
Yeah,
sometimes
but
it's more preferable. They just want to be more safe with it and make
Yeah.
sure that they don't get hurt.
that is true. That is a good point that Coda's making. That also, it would be a lot more annoying to edit and cut together and all that kind of stuff. So
Like,
there
are we
are.
gonna get a stunt double for Lakota when we're doing a fight scene and I gotta punch him?
You sound pretty excited about that. It's very exciting.
No, and I'm gonna
Not
wear
to
my glasses too, so they can break into my eye. I want
It's a lot. Oh my god.
Hey,
Too
first
much
he has to
clear.
go through my stunt training with him first.
Yeah, I'll do
Oh
that.
my goodness.
All right, let's move on though. So that was for fight scenes. And like Brian said, there's also editing tricks and sound effects that make it sound more real. And V was asking in the comments, and I replied to her
Yeah, I was about to.
if those sounds are recorded for ambience or if they're Foley. And it's usually Foley, from what I can tell, is because a lot of that stuff doesn't actually make that much noise. It will make the reason they have it so loud is because the person getting punched is what we're hearing. And it's not really that sound if you're a third person standing over to the side looking at them. It doesn't sound.
Wait, he broke both his arms when a stack of chairs fell through.
Yeah, he said like the rigging messed up, and it was on like the third day of shooting, so they had to CGI like over his arms because he had to wear like these things over his arms. They had to CGI it out.
Oh wow.
Wow. Wow. Oh, how'd you get hurt? Some chairs fell on me.
It was like it was a scene where he had to be on a stack of chairs.
All for a fucking movie about tag, bro. All for like, is that
That's
what you
what I'm
really want to
saying.
say
Yeah,
on your
that one.
resume that you broke both your arms in a movie about hardcore tag?
What movie was this?
It was
I'm
called
like, yo,
Tag.
No.
these guys are not taking a vitamin.
I was on a stack of chairs. Like, it's like the writers weren't thinking about safety at all. let's put this guy
Nah,
in a stack
some of
of
these guys
chairs.
are too soft. They're
sounds-
bones. They're brittle. These guys
That
have not
sounds
been
like
drinking milk.
no, but a stack of freaking
Nah,
chairs.
like
I
a
just
stack
feel
of
like
wooden
that's-
chairs, bro. Come on, that'll
I
break
just feel like
anybody.
that's like, okay, you're an idiot. Like the writers are just like, oh yeah, let's put him in this situation that seems really stupid and dangerous, and like it could possibly
I mean,
give us.
that's the whole film.
Priscilla,
really,
have you
is
seen the
just
whole
these
film?
ridiculous, these
Oh,
ridiculous.
I
stunts.
haven't. I haven't, and you guys are making it sound like I really don't want to, or I might. Coda made me watch. Honey, what was the
No,
movie?
you really might want to watch the movie just because of how stupid it is.
Oh my
What?
God, is it?
What
Is it the
movie is
level
it?
of stupid we just watched? Honey, what was the movie we watched yesterday?
Game over, man.
Game Over, man, from the like creators of Workaholics or whatever.
That one and that babysitter movie from Netflix. Those are two guilty
Yes.
pleasure dumb fucking movies that I love.
Yeah.
I did not watch the babysitter one.
Yo, wait,
But
what's the Game Over
was
one about?
hilarious though. It was hilarious.
Game
dumb.
Over, man, though I did not.
Wait,
watch
Game
what
Over Man
babysitter one?
is a parody of Die Hard, where these three guys, they're what is it called when they're cleaning the hotel rooms?
They're
Whatever, they're cleaning the hotel rooms. That's their job, and then these people come in to like take everyone hostage and
to
try
ransom this money.
for ransom, and so then they're going around attacking, like figuring out how to kill them and get to the top so they can save everyone. It's a ridiculous concept. It's a ridiculous movie. But
So ridiculous.
I
I
like
thought This Is the End was the dumbest movie I would ever watch.
That was a dumb movie.
It was a good one. It was a good movie.
yeah.
It was a good movie, but I was like, I thought that was the dumbest, crazy, batshit thing I'd ever seen in my life until I watched this movie. I was like, okay, there is a dead body on a makeshift, like Nintendo bodysuit shooting at people. I'm like, what is going on right now? It was so weird.
All
So
right.
weird. So if it's that level, send me the name of the movie. I'll look it up.
All
Might
right,
as well.
let's move on to the next thing with action scenes is a foot chase. Another video that showed some really cool things that you can do in a foot chase was, again, it was from Film Riot. It was one of their short films they were making for a certain company. I don't know if it was DJI or who it was, but
It was a company to promote this little mini camera for action scenes or something like that, wasn't it?
broken on. I don't know. I'm not sure who it was, but they were showing like how you can use different effects and different things to get a foot chase to look more real. They said if you're really far away from them, it's going to look like they're not really moving. So a lot of foot chase scenes happen like when you're a little bit closer to the actor, or you're zooming in on them, not zooming in, but you have like a 85 lens looking at them, so they're running past quicker. So it looks like the people are right behind them, or it looks like, it doesn't look like there's as much distance as there is. And they use a lot of these types of tricks to make it seem like, that anything can happen, that the person chasing them can grab them at any second, sort of, sometimes. And then they do a lot of like cuts through. They say to make it more watchable. A scene where they're just running straight can get really boring. So make sure there's somewhere they might be able to go. Like if they're going into an alley and then they're going into a building and then they're going out the other side, that makes these scenes more fun to watch because they're having to dodge a bunch of people or they're dodging stuff and they're zigzagging through all this stuff and that you're seeing the other person chase them through that. And it's more fun than if they're just running down a straight street while the other person's right behind them running towards them, and that just gets old really quickly. They say you can use, they showed in the video, they showed a really cool thing with a crash pad where they kicked the person off of I think it's right here. If you watch this video, this one, she kicks her off the edge and she goes and falls onto the ground and dies. And that was their short film. And they showed how they had a crash pad there. So when she flipped, she actually landed on a pad. And then they took that pad away and had her act out falling on the ground. And then they edited it together and made it look like that it was seamlessly put together so that it looked like it was all one take instead of when it was actually two different scenes. They say be ready for certain things needing to be changed based on the location and the time. Most of the time, actors will wear like motorcycle armor or pads for wide shots and stunt work where they're not going to see their body parts, or they're not going to see their body up close. That way, if they do trip and fall, they land on these things that aren't going to hurt them and damage them like that. They say having foreground objects appear and zip by the screen will make it look like the actor, like they're going faster than they really are. That's a trick some people have used, where you'll show a car go by, or you'll show some trees. They're running through the forest. They use this a lot. They have trees zip by in the foreground, so it looks like they're going really quick when really they're probably just at a jog or a semi-quick run instead of like sprinting like they really would be. I already said this one, but bringing the camera closer to the actor as they're running away will make it seem like the chaser is getting closer. So if you go from behind them, it'll be like a POV kind of shot. People will just automatically assume, especially if it's kind of having a little bit of a handheld movement, they'll assume that it's the chaser behind them instead of just the camera.
Like in Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, doing things like that, or just like putting it behind anything. Like if it's a moment of pause, they say like you can also give pauses in a chase. It doesn't have to be a constant rush. So a lot of scenes you'll see they stop and they look around where to go next, or they're like, did I lose them? And they stop for a moment before they get chased again, and then kind of get
like Jason.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
You watch a lot of interesting action movies, Brent. Like all the ridiculous ones.
Well, Jason?
Yeah.
You like it too.
Another trick they said that you can use is like if you're using a wide angle lens, it makes it seem like the chase, if you're from the chaser's point of view, using a wide angle lens will make it seem like they don't know where that person is. But a telephoto lens might make it look more like they do know where that person is, that they're like they're going directly to them. So different angles will make it seem like different things are going to happen. And so that's also what you want to have in mind when you're doing a chase scene, because if the person's supposed to lose them, then you want to make it kind of clear through your lenses and the angles and all that, that they are losing sight of them. They are getting distracted, or they're losing where they're turning or wherever, so that it's not just out of nowhere. They say using a faster shutter speed when fast action happens on screen will help. That way, it's not just a blur. You can always add motion blur later. But if there's a lot of fast action happening, you want to maybe use a faster shutter speed to capture it so it's crisp and not just like don't even know what's going on because it's so blurry. And to get a good chase scene, you want to use the environment, like I said, for them to zigzag through, going upstairs, etc., so they aren't just running in a straight line. And using different camera movements like pans, follow, steady cam, or combining multiple shots keeps the scenes interesting. So those are some of the tips that were in the videos, and I recommend watching those too. I find all these kinds of things really interesting because it shows like all the tricks that are used in movies and how to get that right emotion across and to make it feel like, it's very tense.
I find like you need to be like not just watching, but the more you implement it, it's the better you do. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also like foot chase scenes are pretty hard to do because you don't want to make them take too long, but you don't want them to get over too quickly either. And it's also a lot of different environments usually, so you want to make sure you have the budget for it, because you're going to be running through different locations most likely, unless it's a forest or something. But even then, you want to make it exciting somehow, because if you're just at one location the whole time, it gets old. And so there's some tricks you can use, but you want to be aware of all the different things that are going to be interesting to your audience, or what's going to keep their attention, instead of them just being like, when's this going to be over? Because you don't want that, especially not during an action scene.
No, yeah, you have to creativity is like the biggest one. And I mean, like most people like in an action scene don't feel that way, because like you work with people that know more, and then you learn the tips and tricks, and then you use your own creativity and you create some awesome stuff. I mean, that's my take.
Yeah.
May I bring up something that's kind of off topic, but I feel like it kind of relates?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I I was invited to go see a wrestling match, and it's not like UFC, it's like kind of like 80s wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little funny in parts, but the actors, the wrestlers, whatever you want to call them, definitely played to
Professional wrestlers, professional athletes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Athlete actors.
Very passionate
Yes,
about his.
athlete actors. I like athlete actors. They definitely had their stick in their character, and they definitely played to the audience. But I also definitely saw that there's almost like, you know how like there's the arc, the storyline arc.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like I witnessed an arc to an action scene, like the ones that dragged it out just a little too long. You know, you definitely felt a lull where you're like, okay, we're kind of over it. And there's like this timing between like, oh, you know, the excitement of like the initial like animosity and the tension they haven't touched yet, and then the actual like play of them kind of interacting, feeling it out, and then the actual kind of like this arc of them really get going for it, and then like a little denouement. Like it's there, it felt like there's a real arc and timing to a good paced action scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they. I've heard that they use, certain people use the 3-act structure with the beginning, middle, and end for every scene, especially in like these types of scenes. So they set up what's getting ready to happen, and in the middle is like, all the action, and then the third act is the end of the conclusion of that chase or that fight or whatever. So they do have like a certain setup sometimes where they will follow it kind of like a mini movie within itself.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, where one person who's used to like watching tons and tons of action sequences might get bored, might amaze somebody else. So I mean, like, and that's the thing. So I mean, like, when you're making content, I mean, I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, obviously, it's like if you do something, you want to do better the next time.
I feel like it depends on your style, on what you want to convey. I feel like there's a place for those kinds of action scenes, but if you want a more serious, if you want more tension, if you want it to be a little more realistic, you might want to work on a little more. But if you're just there to entertain, like she said, like in that situation, it's just there to entertain people. But if it feels like it's acting out a little too much, it can kind of take you out of the experience. If that's what you came to see, it's like, oh, this kind of feels a little rehearsed, and we know it's rehearsed. It's kind of like pro wrestling. You know that part of it is rehearsed, or like part of it's a little fake, but
It's
you're
still
never
real to me, man.
you're never supposed to feel it though. It's never supposed to like be super duper obvious. It's supposed to be a little more like, cool. And so if I feel like that's what she means. It's like, yeah, like I knew that it was gonna be, not necessarily 100% real, but I wish it didn't feel as rehearsed as it did. I feel like
Are
maybe
you
that's
entertained?
yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, like you want to be kind of caught up. You know what you're there for, and maybe you even the audience would buy into this person over that person, or maybe you switch and you start vying for the underdog or something. But you kind of want to be taken along for the ride, even if you feel or that they're athlete actors or what have you. Like you still want to go along for the ride. And I noticed just being
It's kind of like acting. You still want to make it feel like it's, real, right?
Right.
Well, that's the whole idea. I mean, good acting is all about, committing yourself to that role and living in the reality of it. And sometimes people are like, well, we wanted it more like this. But I mean, if you want an actor to actually commit to the role, you kind of just let them and then see what they come up with and then kind of guide them.
Yeah, but I understand. But I understand what Angel's saying. It's just like, we know it's fake, man, but put a little more effort into it.
Well, I thought it was an interesting reminder, especially to be like right there as an audience member. Because sometimes, well, like for the example of like if you haven't seen live theater for a while and you've only been watching film, and like theater like brings a lot of imagination into it. But I feel like something about like being right there live in the flesh as they're performing for you helped me remember like, oh, there's like a certain rhythm to it,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like that's a good way to look at it. It's like they're acting as they're getting their athleticism and the coordination and the blocking and even the sound effects.
As they're pretending to get their butts kicked.
Yeah, but and kind of keeping with their shtick or their in line with their character or what have you. But at the same time, like how to keep the audience right there with you, so that
now let's just be careful before we hurt Brian's feelings.
Oh, but just so that you have the actual action as well as the nuance of the interplay between the characters.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
And I love wrestling from the 80s. It's still fun to me.
Yeah, there you go, Brian. See, we're good.
Hell yeah.
Act out the fight.
The wrong era, but you get the gist of what I'm saying.
Yeah, we get you.
So another good movie to watch. The new Black Widow that's out had some pretty interesting scenes there. But to comment on it,
I have opinions on that film.
I have an opinion.
The second
I
act
haven't
was
seen
pretty
it yet.
good. I'm
Don't
not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it.
I'm just saying they could have done
definitely-
better. Okay,
we never went into this, but continuity is a bit. There was some continuity errors in some of the chase scenes that I saw. Black Widow, like there was definitely some chasing, and then they cut to another shot, and then the guy behind it has like a lot more headroom in the second shot than they did in the first.
You know that's gonna drive me nuts now, right?
I'm just saying it's something.
Now that
people
you
wanted
point
for
that out,
so
I'm gonna
long.
pick that out.
It's something people
Yeah, you're gonna
wanted
see
for
it.
so
You're gonna see what
long.
I'm talking about.
They basically gave us a cop out. They're like, sure, we'll do it. No,
after she's dead.
No, I just felt no effort put into it. Be quiet.
Speaking of that, on a completely different note, I was shocked today. Some of those background actors were a lot.
Still felt like a waste of 200 million.
Which is like
yes, they could have done
big.
so much better.
I didn't hear what.
Sorry, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry, we were just whining over here.
No, I just said that some of the background actresses were prettier than Scarlett Johansson, which is like rare. Normally, when they get background actresses, they make sure that they're not prettier than the lead
The main
actress.
principal cast.
Or maybe
Yeah,
Scarlett
I was
Johansson
like,
was
oh my
confident
God.
in herself and didn't give a crap.
Don't get me wrong. Like, you can't take anything away from Scarlett Johansson, but at the same time, I was like, they actually have like the first chick that died was like.
Okay, hello.
Yeah.
He just said the first chick that died. He didn't say which chick.
Yeah, I didn't say which chick.
But
saying is that she's
how many
hot,
of them
all right?
are going
Yeah,
to be
many
prettier?
a hot chick died. That's all you know. That's the only spoiler you got.
So now when you
many
see
of
the
them are
really
going to be
pretty one,
prettier than
Well,
that?
that's why you don't talk about movies, because you don't.
Well, beauty is
Oh, God.
subjective. You might not think she's prettier than Scarlett Johansson.
I don't know, man. Like,
I see you have a type, Brent.
All right, let's move on past.
All right, let's move on before we spoil it for Mel. Don't worry, Mel.
But
we'll
if
let
you guys do watch it,
by yourself.
I was not happy about missing opening weekend.
Hey, we will let you have that disappointment.
I
on your
watched a
own
premiere
terms,
screening,
okay?
and I promise you, it really wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Really?
No. We will let you.
I'm not gonna lie.
No.
I did fall
I
asleep
think
in the
that's
second
not
one.
good because like
check
everything's
out. He
kind
was
of
talking about foot chases.
so
Quiet on set.
That's why the movie.
Guys, we're gonna let her have that disappointment on her own terms, okay? Let's
Quiet
keep
on
moving.
set.
The movie was brought
No,
up.
I don't even
for
care that much about the
Casey's
character.
correct?
It's fine.
Okay, let's keep moving before I get offended. No.
Nebula supremacy. Okay, go on.
All right. The movie was brought up for its chase scenes, right, Brian?
Right? Okay.
Like, I
So,
brought it up,
But
you know,
good
continuity,
or
like you guys
bad?
said,
Pay attention to some cool
go
tricks
over
they did.
continuity
Well-
within your chase scenes because that is a very big thing. Because
Okay, so
there's
he's saying
some
that there were
parts in there-
continuity errors.
yeah, there's continuity errors, and I mean they had some cool moments, but for the most part, like I did notice, which is a big thing for me to notice it. So like there were some continuity things. So continuity is a very big one when you're doing your chase scenes.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so on point where you're like, oh my god, like you weren't running as fast in this
Your
shot.
left
and-
leg was there, not your right. I mean, yeah.
yeah, but you have to pay it. Like they were doing a scene where it was like, oh my gosh, the bad guy's coming, and da 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 da, and they cut from one shot and he's like 10 feet away, and then they cut to another shot and he's like literally like another 20 feet back, and I'm like, how did he? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
No,
continuity
yeah,
is a
that's
very
another
big
thing I've noticed in chase scenes. Like sometimes there'll be the the person chasing will be right behind them, and then they flip an angle or a corner, and all of a sudden the person chasing them is like.
No, I still will never understand how movies do that thing where like you're running away from a bad guy, and you've got this huge advantage, and next thing you know, because of reasons, both bad guy and good guy, because of reasons, the other guy got there first. I'm like, oh, that makes no sense. Like no sense whatsoever.
The cartoon logic, I call it.
Yeah.
No sense.
Yeah, so you always be aware of that stuff too. Like that's when creativity comes in, because maybe the person can catch up to them and they kind of like grab them and then they like flick them off or whatever, but they're like getting right near them and then they're not near them and then they're near them again. I lose interest. I'm like, okay, obviously.
And if you're in front, then you can be clearing the obstacles away for the people behind you.
Yeah. Or if you're in front, you know where you're going. Or you like can make a quick decision, and then the person behind you has to figure out where you just went. So I think it's harder for the person behind.
Right.
you.
I'm just saying, like, if you're in front and there's an obstacle ahead, and you have to take the brunt of that obstacle, and then when the person behind you gets to it, they don't have to deal with that. So yeah, they can catch up.
Yeah. Sometimes. I don't know. I think like it depends on what the obstacle is, because sometimes you can just jump over it, and the other person has to too.
Main
Yeah, a lot
thing
of the
is,
time
it
they're making
has to make
obstacles.
sense. It has to make sense. That's the main thing for me. Or if it's gonna be stupid, commit to the stupid. Don't be like, oh yeah, we want to make sense, and then there's like a really stupid thing that makes no sense. And I'm like, but that makes no sense. Get the rest of it made sense. So that's what it is with me. I'm either commit to the stupid or make it make sense all the way through. Kind of like that movie we just watched. They committed to the stupid. They committed hard to the stupid. Like it
Wish I
made
could
no
find.
sense. So much made no sense. I was like,
Was that Game
It's
Over
on
Man?
Netflix. The movie's
Yeah,
on Netflix if anyone wants to watch
It's a Netflix original. That's why.
Game Over Man.
I was just like, this makes no sense. And he was like, honey, you're thinking about it too much. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I wish I could
January.
find that. I wish I could find that one video. Someone pointed out like a cheat that they did in the second Captain America movie, in like the first scene when he's on the ship, and he runs like through a tunnel thing, and the camera's like following him, but they cut it so that he like would have been running faster in the tunnel so that he could get out on the other end faster than he was running.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything
so I think it's always important to like really try to plan that stuff out. Of course, it's not going to go exactly as planned, but as long as you know where they're going, what's going to happen, you can kind of make up that stuff, make it go together a little.
Well, and sometimes things are intentional, like they intentionally do things for the sake of timing, but like they try really hard to make sure that the audience doesn't notice it.
Yeah, that's true.
So have you guys seen the
It
movie?
is intentional. Sometimes it is
It
intentional.
at least
that
shows
the
that you're
chaser
trying.
Is behind them, like right behind them, because you're trying to build up that tension. And then it's intentional that they're not behind them so they don't catch them when they turn the corner. Doesn't make any sense.
Have you guys seen the? Have you
like,
seen the movie Unhinged?
Right, but the fact that you noticed it means they failed.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, you can't always say that, because if it's coming from one of our eyes, we're looking out for that stuff, where the other person is not exactly.
But that's what Ryan was saying. But Brian was saying, like, he wasn't looking for it. It was so blatantly obvious.
I don't look at things like that when I'm watching.
And it can take you out of the movie.
The first time, I don't watch it for technicalities.
But because we work in film, our eyes adjust those mistakes.
Not really. Like, I think I know film reviewers that are like, oh, if I don't look for it, sometimes I can just enjoy a movie and I have to watch it multiple times to actually stop and look for those things because I'm enjoying the movie.
I can't watch anything without them looking, like seeing those mistakes. So
I'm more critical. Like me and Coda,
as much if I'm not trying to.
Me and Coda are critical of dialogue more than anything. Dialogue that and acting that and like what do you call it?
Character arc and story arc and
like if something doesn't make
critical.
sense.
I like balance. Like so for me, that's like it's I think.
No, but I
this
mean, like,
gotta
it
be
takes
the
me out of the
best.
movie. If the acting is bad, it takes me out of the movie. If the storyline, like, there's a continuity error, it takes me out of the movie. If something doesn't make sense, it takes me out of the movie. That's not me because I work in film or because I study film. It's just like because I know because I like movies and because I know this story is not making sense or the acting is really bad. Or this isn't a realistic line that someone would make in this situation. Like, it's not even a work and film situation. It's a, this isn't how people talk situation.
But Mark Wahlberg's what? No.
You know,
in The Happening.
The purpose of the movie is to try to stimulate or recreate actual life, real life events or whatever. So when they do it and they give like a line that's not real, or they set something up that kind of just like, you're just setting it up for the sake of the movie, it kind of takes you out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, because I don't know, maybe I don't know film enough, or maybe I just don't care enough, I will have to watch a movie a second time to actually focus on blocking and on cutting and all that kind of stuff. For the first time I'm watching the movie, the main focus in my mind is the story. Will the story captivate
definitely.
me? Will the story make me feel something? Does it feel real? Do these characters feel like real people? And if that takes me out, then I'm like, okay, no.
Yeah.
Have you
like
guys
I'll
seen
say, when I watched Star Wars episode
But everyone's different.
8,
But everyone's different. If
Star Wars
that's how you
Episode
look
8,
at
I
it,
didn't
I'm so
notice
sorry.
the fight scene didn't look that great until watching it a second time and seeing like, oh wow.
Oh, you mean the part where the staff that one of them was holding just miraculously disappears right as it's about to stab her?
Yeah, or like where they're just standing there waiting for her to turn around and kick them away.
No, that is another thing. Fight scenes. That is one thing I'll admit. Fight scenes, I cannot. After I've played video games, after I know a little bit, and even before, I was just like, why are all these bad guys standing around and coming at her one at a time? This is so dumb.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Star Trek is a great show, but the fight choreography is the worst.
I love dumb action films. Like, that is my guilty pleasure all the way. I will watch any dumb action film because
Have
it's
you
so
seen
much fun.
Forbidden Kingdom?
Which one?
Forbidden Kingdom
I think I have. I don't remember. I'm terrible
with
with
Jackie Chan and Jet Li, I think it was.
Oh, I think I have. But it's been so long. Oh crap, I don't remember.
That's a movie that has all that you need.
But yeah, so it's just like I love dumb action movies. I love turning my brain off and just watching people punch stuff or punch other people or big explosions or whatever. But when it's like that, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Why are not all of you tackling him? Why is it like one at a time? Is this a video game? Like, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy.
All right, I'm gonna move on to the next thing. Car chases.
Someone mute whoever's eating.
What?
Mute whoever's eating.
I don't know who it is.
I know someone was making noise. I was like, oh.
I think they muted. I think it was James. He muted.
Okay. Sorry, James. I didn't mean to call you out again.
All right. I'm going to actually just talk about the car chase and then the rest of the action scene notes I have. And then I'm going to move the rest of the stuff to Thursday, which is marking actors, blocking actors, and using stand-ins. We're going to move that to Thursday. It's getting late. So I'm just going to finish up with the action stuff and then we'll call it.
From now on, we're just not going to say, oh, I think this meeting will end quickly. I've noticed that's just like, we jinx it every freaking time.
Well,
Wait,
I
is
mean,
Thursday
like,
when
No, I knew today wasn't going to be quick because we added the stuff from the storyboard.
Oh, okay, so that was today.
Anyone remember that time that we said we had to leave at midnight and we ended up talking till like 5 a.m.?
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
because it's so much crap for it. Kodo was like, you had a million stuff to do and you were busy and yet you said that. It's like, I know. It's James's fault.
No, I mean, I was talking too. She always acts like I'm a jerk when I get off.
No, I'm not, honey. That's not what I meant. Oh my gosh, he's afraid that people will get that impression. No, he makes fun of me. He teases me, but I tease him just as bad. You guys just don't see it, but I tease him just as bad as he teases me.
No, I'm saying I'm not as mad about like it going off.
No, I didn't say you were mad. I said you gave me crap for it. Like, you teased me about it.
All right. Anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna go now.
Really? No, it's
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
We're not awkward. We're just finishing
No,
up. But if you need to go, you can.
Are you though? Are you?
We are. We're just finishing the action thing, and then we're gonna say goodnight.
Guys, wait.
No.
Why?
While we're still no, never mind. Bye.
I've said before, I usually can only stay about 2 hours.
James's fault. That's why it's always James's fault. Because not always, but that's why it's sometimes James's fault. Because sometimes we will say goodnight, and I will finally get up the courage to, okay, I'm gonna say goodnight, and shut up for 10 minutes and actually say goodnight. And then James is like, oh wait, but one more thing, and I'm like, and yeah, and then it starts me up all over again.
You follow through.
That's what I
This
said. It
isn't all
starts
on me.
me up. I admitted my part. Okay.
All right. Anyway, guys.
I'm just saying you enable me. You enable me.
Mel, do you need to go?
Okay.
Or can we finish the?
I'm.
Guilty as charged.
This is why I don't like to say it out loud and just leave it in the chat. This is taking us so much time.
Now we're awkward.
Well, we got time. What is it?
What? No, like me saying that I'm gonna go. Now it's a thing. Now it's a whole thing.
Oh, we made a whole production of it.
People are asking me for
Anyway,
super
okay.
confirmation.
No, it's okay, Mel. If you need to go, you can go. We are just going to finish talking about this last topic, and we are going to leave because we have a crap ton of crap to do. And I had 5 loads of laundry from the trip that we took. So we couldn't stay even if we wanted to.
Yeah, it's okay.
If you need to leave now, you can.
Good night, Mel.
We are
Thanks for
not
coming.
to judge you.
Good night.
I recommend watching the videos on the case and action scenes in the playlist. It's really cool
Yeah.
if you want. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming.
Before I go, never mind. Bye. No, it's fine. Because I was gonna call someone out, but that's not a good thing.
Oh no, you can do it. I just can't because I do it all the time. And
I was just gonna tell you who was making noise, but I think they stopped.
Oh no,
because you can look at the participants and see like the microphone levels.
That's what I was looking
That's what this
at.
little box is right here. It's the participant. So I'm always watching it, trying to mute people when they're making a lot of noise. It's James. Yeah. He has like some kind of candy wrapper or something.
But because I have been like, I call out James a lot by accident. Like I tend to like put him on the spot a lot because like I know him a little better, and I do that. And Coda
and everyone.
And Coda and other people as well. The more I get comfortable with you, the more I'll be sarcastic and call you out. So I am trying to get better at that. But you are free to do it as much as you'd like until someone tells
me. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. This took like 4 minutes for me to leave. Okay, bye.
Bye. That's fine. Don't worry about it. All right, guys. So the car chase stuff. They say use eye lines to lead action since the 180-degree rule is going to be broken. If you're going to use, like if the character turns their head to the right, you can cut to the right and it won't distract the viewer. They'll know what's going on. They're following what the actor's looking at. That way, if you're looking out the back of your car and you're flipping that 180-degree rule, you're going to be looking out the back of the car, seeing the other cars come at them. Things like that. So you don't have to worry too much about the 180-degree rule, especially in a car chase scene. It's going to be broken, but you do want to have some kind of, you want to kind of show where you're going to be looking next. Maybe the character turns their head or you start moving the camera angle towards that side. You do a pan or something like that. So then you can kind of show what's happening where, so it's not too confusing. Obviously, we all know that a car drives forward, unless they're going in reverse, but most of the time in a car chase scene, they're going to be going forward. So if you show the back, obviously we know that's behind them. So it's not as important because the way cars are, we know how when someone's sitting in the driver's seat, they're looking ahead or whatever. So we don't have to worry too much about that 180-degree rule in those instances. But it's still good to kind of lead people with different eye lines or different indicators to show what you're going to be looking at next, so it's not too confusing. Again, I would say I dislike having too many cuts during anything, even a car chase scene. So if you can, I would recommend trying not to have as many cuts.
Or if you're into that, but most people are not.
So
but most people are not.
Me, I hate too many cuts. I think it makes it look, I don't even know what's going on. I think certain movies do it really well, where they do cuts that make sense, like when they lead them with eye lines, and some movies do it really really annoyingly where they're showing the wheel and the hands, and then they're showing their face, and then they're showing the back, and then they're showing the car tire, and then they're showing the other thing, and then it's just going all over the place. And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know how far that car is away from them. I don't know what's happening. But then certain movies will do it really well, where where you really know what's going on. You know where everything is. Mad Max did it really well. Tenet did it really well. And so like there's different ways you can do it to make it make sense and to make people know what's going on.
Yeah, and I feel like it's almost like you have to do stuff unwell and then you learn how to do it well.
That too, yeah. So when it's your first time, you might want to try to get somebody who's done it before. You know, if I knew somebody, or I don't know if I do, but if one of you guys have ever done a car chase scene and I'm going to do one, I might try to get you guys to come work with me or get somebody who's done it. That way I have their knowledge and their experience that can help me. You know, because the worst thing that people do is they try to take everything onto themselves, try to do everything themselves when they don't know everything. And it's okay to be the director and to give some, you know, delegate some of those tasks to other people that have done it before, that can help you do it, that can help be an advisor or something so that you can get it done right. Because some people, like if they're a first-time director, sometimes they're nervous. They don't want that person with more experience to feel like they're in charge. So they end up not giving them as much, you know, tasks because they're afraid that they're going to try to take over. And that,
well, I think that
the team effort.
I think that if you have the person's kind of respect and they know that you're directing and they're there to support you, then there's no fear of that. It's like, it's the only fear of that is if they've had an experience with somebody who's done that, where they've, you know what I mean? So other than that, but I don't see why there would be, if someone knows more and they're there to help guide you, that's like the best situation possible. Definitely. But yeah, I guess like that's what it comes from, is like, that would be my guess. Possibly be, usually a lot of times fears are actually in reality based on, yeah, it's an odd one. You know, and it's like the person that's like, oh, I'm afraid of, sometimes they're not, but often, like, I guess like a decent amount are and some are not. And sometimes it's like you recognize.
Sometimes you don't realize that you're not giving out as many tasks because you're afraid of it. You don't even realize that that's what you're doing. Sometimes it's just, you know, it's just subconsciously. But it's always good to just be aware of that and to try to have everybody, you know, be a team effort, include people in your things, and try to see if anybody has any ideas if you are, you know, if you're stuck and you can't figure it out. Especially if it's something you've never done before.
Yeah, I think that's encouraging. Collaboration's the best. I agree.
What'd you say, Angel?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think that's more encouraging, as you know, as people new to filmmaking, to just be more collaborative and to just start making, you know, smaller shorts or what have you to learn. The collaborative aspect is much more inviting because maybe you're a better delegator than having to know everything, and then you can learn as you go along.
Yeah. And then you can learn from those other people that have more knowledge in this area than you do, and then now you know it, and it's better than just dismissing everybody. Really.
Yeah, I agree. You want to keep everyone, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing is, somebody said, I think this was actually Mad Max. The person talking about the movie was saying that shots, you know, they don't always have to be shaky and chaotic to have a good chase scene. Sometimes it might be better just to keep the movement really smooth and keep the audience oriented and knowing what's going on. That's another problem in some movies. I feel they are overly shaky to the point where I can't tell what's in this shot. You know, I know it's in the shot, the person maybe, but like it's so shaky that it's like, okay, but what's going on? Why is it so shaky? They're trying to add that chaotic, you know, chase to it. But like sometimes it's okay to keep it a stable shot and show the car being chased by the other car. It doesn't always have to be so shaky. And I think they said like Mad Max did it a lot, where they would have very smooth movement, but they still had that same excitement because they did, you know, different techniques to get it going. They say just like in the fight scenes, car chase scenes and all that should build suspense and grow as it goes before coming to a conclusion, like a 3-act structure. So you want to build the suspense up and then let it conclude itself instead of just keeping it at one area of suspense. It shouldn't always be like right there, like the car's right behind them the whole time. That'll be too much for the audience to handle, or it'll drain them, or they'll just get bored of it because they're like, well, he's right behind them, but he's never catching them, so this is boring. So there's different ways to do these types of scenes to make it interesting, and that's where creativity and group effort comes in, is figuring out how to go about doing these scenes. What can we do differently that hasn't been done before, and what can we, where do we want these moments to happen so that there's a little bit of maybe a breathing room in between, so they're not just constantly on their edge of their seat, because and nobody stays on the edge of their seat the whole time. So there's always like different ways to go about building up the suspense and then letting it naturally conclude, and whether it's somebody crashes or somebody gets away or whatever happens, there's different ways to let the audience get at ease for a second before going into the next thing. What was that? Oh. One thing I wanted to say is, one of the videos I watched, they were showing how a movie did a 17-minute long take. And, there were the hidden cuts, like Brian was talking about before, where it might be a wall or it might be a door, and they start the camera and end the camera there so that it looks like it's one take. They had a few of those where it seamlessly transitioned, but it was made to look like one long take. And me personally, from the movie they were showing, I thought it was unnecessary. I thought there's like sometimes it makes it overly complicated, first of all. Like, some people do it because it's cool to do. Some people do it because they feel like it's needed in the movie. But one long take for such a long sequence, I don't know. Like, for me personally, like, if you guys go watch the video, it's in the syllabus. One of the videos shows it. It looks like somebody holding a camera. Like, to me, some of the things are like him running around the road and then getting in the car.
Very shaky. The camera's it's very like not always shaky, but it just looks like someone's holding a camera because they want to make it all one take, like one scene. And so they get in the car and they move and they walk around behind them. It's like, well, this is clearly someone with a camera. It doesn't really feel natural.
Yeah, the problem I had with it was he was actually like, I saw the behind the scenes, and
It was a Netflix show.
And what it looked like in the actual film, it looked like how it looked in the behind the scenes. It looked like somebody carrying a camera into the car and then taking off with them and all these other things. So I don't know. I know people like long takes, and that's really good cinematography sometimes, and it's really hard to plan and set up. But for me personally, sometimes I feel like it's just done because it's supposed to be cool. And I don't think it's always necessary. And I think it's better done in different ways than how I saw it in that. I just had a side note in case anyone watched the film.
You're absolutely right on that. A big thing, like I had mentioned, like a lot of it is trying to disguise the fact that there's a camera recording everything that's being going on. So if you could identify that and say like, oh, it looks like somebody's holding a camera, then that's definitely a problem. Unless they're trying to go for that found footage type look, but that's obviously what they're not trying to do. But
because they mention all the time like one take. They never said like, oh, handheld look or anything like that. So.
But a lot of times, like when you watch a movie, like I had mentioned with the sound effects, there's a lot of subtle things that sometimes not are there, or sometimes that are missing, that would make or break a scene. Like if you've ever seen the movie Terminator 3, if you've ever seen that movie. So Terminator 3 had a really long chase scene, and they did one cool thing in that scene. So the cool thing is it started at night, and then the scene ended when the sun came up. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I always wondered, I was like, so something about this scene I just don't like. But it took me a while to figure it out. I finally figured out the whole scene. It's like a good 10-minute scene, and the whole scene goes through, and there's no music, no background music, no none of that stuff. It's just straight 10 minutes of them like going back and forth. And it just took me a while to realize that like there's no background music there, and they should be background. I mean, not everything requires background music, but if you're gonna do a scene like this for 10 minutes, you gotta have something there.
Right.
And there was just nothing there. Like, so it's really up to you to say, like, to make the call. Like, I don't, And I don't even think they realized that there was no music in there. I think it's just like one of those flops where they just edited the scene, like, oh, it looks good, just put it out there. But for me, I was like, there's no music here in this entire 8-10 minute scene, and it just kind of gets really boring. In really, I mean, music shouldn't be the overall factor of what makes a scene good, but like I said, like a lot of times there's like really small, subtle things that kind of like make or break. You can't really put your finger on it, but it's there or it's not there, and that's really, the overall scenario on what's going to make it work and what's not going to make it work.
Yeah, and if it feels weird like that, that's a problem, and that's why, like, that's, definitely. I agree. Like, you shouldn't. I don't know. Like, that's something that maybe they did think about. They didn't want it. I know there's some car chase scenes where they just have the car engine revving and like the different when they're changing gears and they have the different noises of the car and they don't have anything else. But I agree that I like music and I like how it kind of can tell you the emotion going on without you having to look at it, the actor's face, and like the building the tension can happen through music and all these other things. And I think it does add excitement. So I agree with that. I think that I'll have to watch it again because I don't remember that, but that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's the scene where they initially try to get away from the female Terminator, like the very first one. It's like a good 10-minute long, and it takes you a while to realize it, but you're like, dang, it's like something's not right about this. And they're like, oh, there's no music in there. That's why. I'm not saying that every scene has to have music, but sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's either there or it's not there, and that's kind of like the defining factor of it. Like, if you're ever wondering, like, why is it that I don't like this particular scene? Sometimes either something's missing or there's something there that's kind of like distracting you from really getting into it.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions or comments about car chase scenes? Because the last thing I have is just general action scenes altogether.
Not at this moment. I mean, like choreographing the car scenes and chase scenes, I guess, like, do they, like, you do rehearsals and practicing? I guess you would have to cone everything off and everything.
Yeah. So they're usually in like like they either block off a street if they're actually shooting on the street, or they have the green screen that we saw, or like the projector. Sometimes they'll use that. And they have like over here on the left, you can see this car rig where they attach this huge like crane to the car and have the camera hanging down so they can move it around right there. They bigger sets, bigger productions will have that kind of thing. Sometimes they'll just be in the car with the people or set the camera somewhere on the dashboard or up on, the ceiling looking down or something. But oftentimes when you're doing a car chase scene, you'll have like these other cars behind the principal car, the actors or whoever it is, and you'll have that be the camera, or you'll have it like on the side or something like that. But that's usually how they film these things.
That makes sense.
Also, if you ever watch behind the scenes of a car chase scene, you'll see a lot of them don't even go anywhere near the speed that it looks like they're going when they're doing the shoot. When it's a final product in the movie, they're usually going like, pretty slow, honestly, like 15 miles per hour maybe. And that's for steadiness and for safety, so that the camera's not shaking around, but also for the safety of the actor, so they're not actually going 80 miles per hour. And then they speed it up in post, or they do other tricks, CGI and stuff like that, to get it to look like it's going fast. Oftentimes, so it's actually really interesting, all these different techniques they use. Yeah, I think that's all I had on car chases. All right, so lastly, just general action scenes. They said like fight scenes are often broken into small sections, sometimes as short as a punch and a block, so that you can try different angles to find the best ones. Of course, if you do just a punch and a block, that means every punch you do is going to be a cut. And that's why I would suggest doing like a few movements within a cut so that you can see what's going on. Because I find every punch kind of annoying if you're and I know the Bourne movies did a lot of cuts when they were doing their fight scenes, and I got kind of annoyed by that. But and it doesn't always have to be that way. You can do the whole thing where you're not actually punching the other actor, and you're doing a few movements in frame. Maybe it's a 3 little punch setup, and at least there's, you know, a few seconds between cuts, so it's not all every single thing is cut, and then the whole thing is like a minute, but you've done 60 cuts, and it's just like, holy crap, there's so many. But instead, maybe like, you know, 10 cuts or, you know, something like that would be a lot better. So the more you can do within a frame, I would recommend trying.
Yeah.
Whether you're actually going to have them contact each other, or you're going to do the framing and the blocking to make it look like they're coming into contact when really they're a foot away or however far away. Rehearsal is important. Having the camera during the rehearsal is also really important to figure out blocking and movement. Make the camera part of the action. If a person gets punched to the right, pan the camera slightly to the right before resetting it to the original framing. That'll make people feel more like they're in the action. They're feeling what the actor just felt when they got punched. The camera moved with it. They're getting punched too, that kind of thing. Instead of just keeping the camera still. Of course, you can keep it still, but that was just a tip somebody gave to make it feel more like they are with that character. So whichever character you're showing or you're with or your point of view or whatever, you could be the camera, and you just kind of go wherever they go. Or if they get punched to the left or right, if they get punched backwards, you can kind of dolly in a little bit, you know, just make it feel a little more like you are with them. They also say a good thing to do is showing wounds in a fight. And that could be blood, could just be fatigue creeping in. You know, what's this movie's called? John Wick. John Wick did it really well, where you can see that he's getting tired. You can see that he's getting hurt, he's getting bruised. You know, everybody's punching him and hitting him and maybe putting a knife into his leg or whatever, but he's actually taking some damage. And that's always good to do if you don't want it to feel like they're invincible and like, oh my gosh, how are they not getting tired? They just fought 20 people. When really in real life, you start getting tired after, you know, each punch and each hit and each block, it's going to take some of your stamina away. And so then you start getting more and more tired and you start messing up more. So it depends on what you're trying to go for, but, you know, showing wounds in a fight can be really good to keep people worried that character is an actual danger, instead of like, oh, well, he's going to get out of it. He's John Wick. So like, holy crap, how is he going to get out of this? You know, that kind of thing. You kind of want that.
John effing Wick.
Again, another person said keeping the camera still can be beneficial if the action is done right. Handheld shakiness can also add kinetic energy, which makes it, you know, feel more like you're in with the action, but sometimes it's done too much to where the audience won't know what's going on or where they are. And it's confusing, disorienting. And, you know, certain people don't like it. Certain people do. Depends on what you're trying to go for. Me personally, I would try to do it less because I don't like it.
What don't you like?
Too much
Camera
shakiness and cuts. I don't like too much of that. I feel like it's overdone, and it's so confusing about what's happening.
I understand.
Where are they now? What?
Yeah, like what's happening? Like I didn't even see him punch, but we're cutting to a new thing, you know, that kind of thing. And I've seen movies, and I don't dislike the movies. I still like them. I like Jason Bourne, but I do know that they cut all the time. If there's a fight scene, they're cutting all over the place. And it's kind of annoying because I want to see what's happening. And I
It's
can't.
even worse. It's like, it's hard. You can like go back and pause it, and the camera shake would be so far off that it's still hard to even tell what's actually happening. Like if you're going back to see like
yeah,
that's an actual hit or not, like you won't be able to tell. Like it's so I'm totally on the same page with you on that one.
Yeah. And then the last tip I have that I got from these videos and stuff is just having experienced stunt people may save you money in the long run because they know what they're doing and will require less time and planning. So like if you have a brand new actor that wants to do their own stunts, it's going to take a lot longer for them to get that fight choreography down. I know in Star Wars Episode 3, the guy, Hayden Christensen and what's Obi-Wan's name? Well, those two actors.
Ian McGregor.
Ewan McGregor, yeah. I love him. So
James Earl
those two
Jones.
actually did their fight scene when they were fighting on that big thing above the lava. That whole thing was actually done. If you watch the behind the scenes, you can see that they're actually hitting their their lightsabers or whatever they have, their sticks or whatever it is. They're actually hitting each other, and so they had to get that choreographing down, and they said it took months. And so if you get stunt people instead, they'll probably get it down a lot quicker because they're used to that kind of thing. They're more used to fighting. They know how to do fight choreography. They know how to do.
Well, and here's the other weird thing too is like even if you're used to like doing fight choreography and stuff, like this pandemic can make things weird when you take like it's like or like used to things. If you take a long break and come back, it's you have to like work your way back up too. That's another one too. So that's just random, but so I guess it's like anything. My point being is that you create stamina at the gym if you're lifting weights too. So
Yeah, and
it's
then
random thoughts.
once you stop lifting those weights, you're gonna have more trouble keeping up with what you did before. So
Yeah, and then
also
everything
that.
like
That's why
I
these
don't know.
professional stunt coordinators that are constantly doing it for work, they're gonna be more used to all this. They're gonna have more stamina and be ready than if you're trying to get someone who's never done it before. Or even if they've done it, if they like you said, if they haven't done it for like 3 years, they're not going to be able to jump into it as quickly. So you want to keep that in mind depending on your schedule as well, because sometimes maybe the budget will be better if you just put some stunt people in. But that just depends. It all depends on what you're trying to go for, what your budget is, and how much time you have to do this thing. So those all come into those are all things to consider when you're doing one of these types of scenes. But anytime you're doing any kind of action scene, guys, you always want to just make sure that you are preparing enough time to practice it and preparing enough money to set off to the side for that, wherever location it is, or paying that stunt coordinator or whatever you have to do to get that scene. Just make sure you have enough time and financing for it, because those are harder to do and they are more expensive most of the time. Especially with
good?
Yeah, that's it.
Yay!
I'll just say the rest of the stuff, like I said, I'll do on Thursday. And the stuff to see, let's see, how to film visual effects scenes is for Thursday. Remembering lines, that's for actors, like helping them to remember lines or knowing their lines so you can throw it out. This is usually something that the script supervisor will help out with. So they'll know what part of the script is, and that's why they keep a constant updated version of the script, so that if the director says that line doesn't work anymore, they change the line in the script so they know what the actor's line will be. So if the actor forgets something, they can call out, well, it's my line, and then script supervisor can let them know. And last is location contact list, which is just a list used to have the information of who to contact in case something goes wrong in the location or they are locked out. The person who owns that place, they're going to want their contact information and give it out to the people who need it. So those are the things we're going over Thursday, as well as marking actors, blocking actors, and using stand-ins. So I'm hoping we can get through all that. I think the main things that'll take up time will be visual effects scenes and using stand-ins, but we'll see.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Night. Thanks for joining us, Brian. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, Brian, I'm glad you're still able to come in.
Glad you tried.
Bye. Take care, guys.
All right, guys.
I'll see what it's looking like. If my schedule is looking like. Maybe I could still join. I don't know. It depends on what they have us doing out here. But I tell you one thing, like, you don't know what hot is until you come out of here.
You don't know what
I've never experienced it. Yeah, it is extremely.
Oh man!
So
You've never lived in Texas and/or Rio de Janeiro.
No. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Texas, and it doesn't matter what state you're in. Miami, Texas, California. You can go down to the Philippines, and it's still nowhere near as hot as it is here. So like, you'll walk out at like 12 o'clock this evening. So you know how when you come out